I just realized as we're gearing up to talk about bombs dropping over the Middle East and we're all bitching about our bike injuries and like my little scrapes and bruises. I had a bad week. I hurt my elbow a little bit riding my bicycle around to go play disc golf when I didn't have to work on one of my days. So anyway,
dude, I'm tough,
there's a
man.
war.
Thank you for your service. You're so stunning, so brave. What would we do without you, dude? We'd just be lost in the wilderness of, like, I don't know, a lack of masculinity.
Well, I think it's important in this day and age, in a time when mankind, especially in this culture, has gone so soft. It's important to emulate what a strong man is, to encourage our troops. We're getting ready for World War III. I mean, you have to have some kind of backing. We can't be having a Vietnam 2.0 when these guys come back from the Middle East.
Of course. One of the most vital roles in any war is, the whole Captain America tour and encourage the troops, Without you, who's going to actually go fight and die for Israel or for American interest? Who knows? Maybe this is our own military-industrial complex at it again, man.
You know what? That's a very bold thing of you to assume, though, that America and Israel's interests aren't so intertwined that you would even need to, like, specify a difference. That's very short-sighted of you, and that's like, I don't know. I don't want to quite call you like an anti-Semite yet, but you're walking the line already. Okay, I'm just gonna let you know.
Okay. I'll save some of my Kyrie Irving takes for later. Everyone's good and lubed up. All right.
Is that not maybe the greatest miss of Kanye's career, that he just now dropped all this anti-Semitism stuff right when we're having like an actual surgence of the left? Like I don't think I've ever seen so many woke lefties that are so strongly anti-Israel, nor so many that I probably would agree with on a lot of what's going on with their at least their support of this war effort that we seem to be bubbling up on right now.
Honestly, I disagree, man. I think you got to give Kanye credit. This is perfectly timed. The lefties can jam to it again. All the curse words are cool again. Anti-Semitism's kind of cool. It's coming back. Put on the Kanye.
I meant the other way. That's what I'm saying. Ye denounced all that just like a month ago.
Oh, he didn't mean any of that. That's just my point.
We're not buying that. He didn't mean that, just like Donald Trump didn't mean anything about those peace talks with Iran.
Maybe so.
Who knows what's going on behind the scenes, man?
Have y'all heard that theory, by the way? There's been some reporting that behind the scenes, and I think it was thrown out to Donald Trump directly, actually, and he was like, well, of course, absolutely, I knew what was going on. I know everything that's happening all the time. I was totally in the loop. They wouldn't do anything without letting Donald know. And then I think there was some backsliding by his administration behind that to be like, no, we didn't actually know this was going on. But that was at least an interesting quote, and a lot of people were really pointing to that, to like, hey, man, I mean, how implicit does that make us already? Not that I don't think anybody on this panel here tonight's like arguing that we're not actually in a war yet and that nothing big's going on here. I think we're all pretty, at least I'm in the camp of like, this feels like we've declared war on Iran.
No, that's also factually inaccurate, Logan. We don't declare wars anymore. Okay, we have congressional authorizations of military use, but we don't declare war, because if we declare war, then we have to fight wars and not police actions.
Also,
so
it's very
you guys, I need you guys to tighten up.
We just have assets in the area. Very different. Very different.
We're not going to war with Iran. It's just another police action to stop them from getting bombs.
It's an open ocean. You can go wherever you want, man.
And I know we've brought this up several times on the show before, but isn't it interesting how many safeguards we had, and that it was supposed to be, you can't really go to war without the approval of the people, like via Congress, and the swelling and the support of the American people is the only way you can actually go to war. And we have this like complete reversal now, where like you can just start a military activity anytime you want to. And if it's like, well, we couldn't just leave Israel hanging over the weekend while we had a discussion about what the right thing to do about this was. We got to just go ahead and send some cargo planes over there and start shooting down missiles on behalf of Israel to keep them safe. And And it seems like it's an entire ordeal to get Congress to have any discussion on stopping a war afterwards. That's maybe the only thing they seem to give a shit or have any real apprehension about is ever ending one of these conflicts.
Or they rubber stamp it after the fact. They're really good at that. After boots have been on the ground, they're like, yeah, of course we're down with this now. And we've been in a country for like 6 months already. And it's like, of course, yeah, go ahead, Mr. President. Do what you need to. You have our full support.
We always supported the war, in fact.
We're down with this. And down with the brown people. Like we're here for you.
And maybe that's a little bit of me arguing against myself, because I mean, it seems like the powers that have captured our political class and have that list of 7 countries in 5 years that we're all familiar with Iran being the last unconquered of those states, to sit here and argue like, well, Congress didn't even approve it. It's like, what part of this completely bought and paid for lobbyist sham of a democracy makes you think that Congress wouldn't 100% support all of this going on?
To be fair, though, we are putting the cart before the horse a little bit. So I do have a bit of a serious question just to get y'all's take on this. So, I mean, technically, we haven't done anything yet other than supporting Israel. There's still conversations happening today, even in fact, where we're going to find out if we are going to actively bomb or not. I mean, there is a chance that maybe we don't actually end up doing anything. Do y'all think there is a possibility that this ends in just a little bit of diplomacy and a conversation after Israel dropped all those bombs? Or do you think that this boulder has started rolling down the hill and it only goes one way?
To bomb or not to bomb? That is the question. I don't know. I actually think there is still an off-ramp, only because Israel does not have the capability to actually get what's that? I can't think of
the mother of all bombs.
But what's is it? Fordo, their underground nuclear site. Like Israel doesn't have the capability to get that unless they drop some very precise JDAMs, like one after another, all in the same spot, and just kind of like jackhammer their way down there.
It's like I think Skywalker putting the visor up moment.
Pretty much that, or it's like Tom Cruise in Top Gun 2, where they do that cool little maneuver and have to drop it down the shaft. It's kind of the same. I have the same vibes.
I don't consume war propaganda, so I didn't watch Top Gun.
Well, then good.
You're missing out.
Yeah, good. I'm Logan. Like I'm pure.
Pre 1500s, then I'm into it all the way.
Okay, gotcha.
So the Patriot was a no-go for you then, huh?
Right.
All right. My apologies. We'll cut it off at like 1850.
Okay, before all those controversial wars.
Yeah, before the semi-automatic weapons, back when you still could scout people realistically on the battlefield. That was the fun times.
those are the good old days. But I think that there is a possibility of off-ramp, and I desperately hope so, because I feel like that's one of those red lines that I don't know how you uncross. If America drops one of our 30,000-pound bunker busters on their nuclear development site, I don't know how you don't go to war after that. So I hope there is a possibility for. I'm hoping. I'm hanging on to hope.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I'm just concerned because it was a pretty overt strike by Israel, preemptive strike if you're listening to the Zionist crowd. But I mean, just the sheer irony of like, there is nobody who denies that Israel has nuclear weapons outside of Israel. So to then justify your preemptive strike on the grounds that this country, who has not developed nuclear weapons by any of the metrics of measure that we have, nor violated any of their inspections with the non-nuclear proliferation agreement, which they are seemingly in great standing with, and that to be your justification while you are just sitting on 2 decades worth of nuclear weapons is a little bit wild. And things to also like, this was at least according to the propaganda we're receiving right now, which is obviously pro-Israel and trying to push us into a war on their side, or at least positioning us for a war on their side if it is to come to that head. It just doesn't seem to add up. It's very like obviously the target of saying things like we're here to hit every leader and cut the head off the snake of this country, who is our neighbor, who is one of the more liberal Islamic states in the region, despite the last couple decades where they've maybe taken some step backs. It's just a bad look, you know? I don't feel great about it. I don't feel like the world stage maybe has the best view of it.
This is dripping with irony that I hadn't considered. Because, I mean, you're right. Israel, didn't they, like, steal enriched uranium to get their first nuke?
Yeah.
In, like, direct violation of the
them and South
non-proliferation?
Africa tested they tested a nuke out in the Indian Ocean, and everybody, so like the Americans, the Soviets, the French, and the British all like detected it, and everyone turned. It's like, hey, Israel, hey, South Africa, what are you guys doing? And they're like, what? Who? we're not doing anything. It's like, no, I'm pretty sure you're up to something. Like, no, we're not.
You know, it is wild, but also it is okay. So Israel violates the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, and it's been nothing but a bucket full of snakes ever since that happened. It's kind of like, well, we have to stop Iran from doing this too. Otherwise, we get Israel 2.0 now, like another one of those assholes in the Middle East. Can we really deal with a second country with nukes in the Middle East? You know, obviously Israel should be leading the charge, but like with the example they set, they do have a point. We can't let this happen again.
Never again. Never again.
And how much credence do you guys put into Iran legitimately having, you know, the doomsday clock's about to hit midnight on them developing nuclear weapons? Because this is something that Netanyahu's been peddling since the early
92.
90s. Right. They've been
Iran's
a couple years away.
Yeah. And sometimes a couple of weeks
for 4 decades.
Yeah, for a long time. And so that's why I have a very hard time like taking that seriously, just because we've been hearing, oh, they're just a couple of weeks away. Sometimes like they might get it next week. And we've been hearing that for over a decade. And it's really hard to, I don't know. In times like this, I have almost no sympathy for Israel. And I view them as like the ultimate villain in this story, because I have this image of them like you know those little cardboard cutouts that you would go like at the beach or something that you and it's got like the buff beach bod guy. Like I have a picture like Israel like hiding behind this like mangled Holocaust victim in their striped pajamas. And behind it, there's like this massively muscled man with nuclear weapons. And there's like, oh, we're just poor Jews. Don't like, please help us. It's like, and we have nuclear weapons and we're running an effective apartheid state. And we've, displaced millions of Gaza. And so I just have a very hard time, like not viewing them as the chief villain of our current story.
It's interesting how well they have positioned themselves to that anything anti-Israel is anti-Semitic.
They're not even Semites. We already talked about this last week.
Yeah, there's that. There is that. But like, I mean, what other country has that association where like you can be mad at the way Mexico handles the cartel and lets them influence their elections, and nobody ever accuses you of being like anti-Mexican, you know, like, oh, you hate Mexicans. How dare the Mexican culture? And
here comes Christopher Columbus again, trying to stop
somebody's got a problem with these Olmecs out here. Yeah, it's just I don't know. Is that how intentional that association was, or if they just higher IQ arguments and better job of proliferating their message throughout the peoples? But
definitely the second one, much better propaganda machine.
Oh, absolutely. And you got to give them credit for winning the PR war, like 100%. Because, like, for instance, when they were striking Hamas, Hamas has their infrastructure near hospitals and schools, blah, 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 blah. Israel just got struck recently by Iran. And, some of their operational centers are, like, in the middle of neighborhoods, in, like, high rises that are downtown. One of them actually got hit, and, like, there were some civilians nearby. I don't know if there were casualties or not. But they played that up. It's like, look, these strikes are hitting the city. And it's like, damn, it only works when y'all say it. But like everybody else says it. And no one really cares. Like, it's fantastic. They're doing like a great job PR-wise. And sometimes they'll see PR. Like there was this Iranian woman on the news a couple days ago. All of her children died in like a bomb strike. And she was talking about she was happy. They're martyrs for the cause, whatnot. And like it just doesn't look good. If she just came out and started pulling the whole Israel game of like, they struck a school. You can't call your kids martyrs, call them children, first of all. Like, it plays much better in the West. Like, all the language that's being used on the Muslim side is just not winning them the PR war in the West. Like, all they're doing is getting sympathy from Muslims, but Muslims are already like, fuck Israel. Like, they really got to start hammering us, dude. They could totally get us to switch sides if they just played this right. But they're too Arabic with it, man.
That is interesting, that difference in cultures. Like, in a secular society, the word martyr just doesn't have that much weight to it. Like, nobody really, it's like how many people probably don't even fully understand that word anyway, and then always associate it with like religious fervor, and they're like, oh, gross, martyrs.
Ew.
Ew.
I got religion on my shoe. Ew.
So this one martyr comes into the bar fucking a goat, right? That is a really good point. There's something to that churning out of the propaganda machine, and maybe that is a little bit out of like Israel's stronger connection to the West and better understanding of where to spin it, because they're European or whatever, and it's really easy to speak to their own culture on some level. But yeah, they certainly do seem to have a massive advantage on spinning it to the news cycle, however that works out.
I mean, they have, though, for decades. I mean, that was one of the things that they had on their side back before Israel even was a state, when it was still the British Mandate of Palestine. They had the way that they could influence specifically America and Europe to a lesser degree about the story, and they've always had just a better propaganda machine, and it's served them. You know what I mean? It's like, at a certain point, I can't even knock the hustle. Like, good for you guys. You're out there like stealing nuclear bombs and attacking your neighbors and somehow playing the victim card, and
US ships.
Dude, for sure, bombing US ships and bombing brown kids, and somehow you're still the victim when there's it's like I can't knock the hustle. It's actually impressive in a lot of ways, in the worst type of way, but it is impressive.
Do you guys have any explanation for that? We hear that a lot, that like Mossad is the S tier of intelligence agencies. If it's not the CIA, it's Mossad at the top. And it does seem like, for what their limited resources would be compared to the CIA, like, they are a hell of an intelligence organization over there. Is it, back to IQ arguments, or is it like trial by fire? Like, you just put them in the middle of a shitstorm in the Middle East long enough, like you're just going to get a hell of an intelligence agency if they actually come out on the other side?
That's a good question. And I think it boils down to a few things, because my own priors, I've always assumed that Mossad's number one, we're number two, China's number three, or somewhere like that, but that's like top three. But really, anytime Mossad does anything, we always know it's Mossad, because we're getting told, like, oh, the pager thing, oh, this, oh, blah, blah, blah. And I've always wondered if, like, maybe there's a lot of CIA activity that just gets written off as like petty crime. And it's just like, oh, damn, I can't believe this business financier, he got killed in this random mugging. So sad. But like, what if, we're just not attributing things to the CIA that are being done by the CIA?
We don't have that Middle East thing that makes you have to yell it out to Allah after you did it.
How are they going to know I'm a martyr if I don't scream?
If I don't, right? I do think that you're onto something there. Because it probably behooves the CIA to not take credit for anything. But on the flip side, every time Israel does something, it's probably good to say, yeah, Mossad did this, and you guys should be afraid, because we'll do something bigger and worse next time. And so I wonder if just the motivations are different. It's kind of like when Israel was before, I guess it's before Israel, but like when the Zionists are, the British are on their way out, and they're going through, and they're just like terrorizing and committing, for lack of a better term, a nice war of race and space against the Arabs that are living there. They're purposely doing it, and they're purposely exaggerating what's going on, so it spreads, so that everybody is like, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. What next? And so I wonder if it's just kind of like rooted in their DNA as a country, that we have to be mean, and we need to take credit, because people need to know that we can fuck them up. as like the CIA is like, actually, let's just like, let's let this one slide right by, and I don't know, blame it on some like middle management warlord here in Africa. No reason to get our name muddied up in this mess.
Thomas Crooks was an incel who didn't have any internet access to social media.
Exactly. No reason to put, especially that one though. Definitely don't put your name on that one.
Especially not a failed one.
Oh, for sure.
We'll own up to JFK before we own up to that guy that we missed. I mean, don't want to smudge our record if we're going to be putting it on the line.
No way.
That is a decent point, because I guess there is an advantage to Israel's position to being the boogeyman on some level of like, we're so scary you shouldn't fuck with us, because they are surrounded on all sides by either people who are actively seemingly wanting to kill them, or people who've been paid off by the United States to not want to kill them anymore.
Kill them. Yeah.
It seems like it. And, while you were talking, I did some like a little Google searching to see if I could find any sort of announcements from the CIA about any like successful operations. They just don't really announce anything at all. Like their Twitter page is like, look at what we did in 1942. Like, I'm not even kidding. If you go look, it's just like artifacts from World War II operations. Like they just do not talk about anything that's in the last 80 years. And like, you don't ever see press releases about successful CIA operations. I also looked for Mossad ones, and they were bragging about how they lured some of Iran's like chief of their Air Force or whatever to like a specific airbase, and they bombed like 7 of them last night. So like, they do something yesterday and we hear about it today. The CIA does something like 80 years ago and we hear about it today. Like
for sure. Overthrow the Shah of Iran or the democratically elected president of Iran.
We still gotta wait 30 years to hear
for
that.
Sure. And then we install the Shah, and now we're just like, oh, I mean, I guess we were there. I vaguely remember being at that party, and I don't know, maybe having a couple of drinks. But it's kind of vague.
In the area. Maybe slipping something into his drink. You never know. Yeah, it's pretty gross stuff. So I guess that probably answers this question before I even get to it. But there is the dog or the tail sort of thing. I mean, there's always this back and forth in the conspiracy circles of, is America the satellite or is Israel the satellite? And I'm kind of the belief of the latter, which would probably be indicated by everything that we just said, that if you're actually running the show effectively and you're the one pulling most of the levers on the global scale, then it does not behoove you to release that information to the public, everything you're up to. But I did want to at least ask the question, like, do you guys think that this is something that is, and I guess it doesn't necessarily have to be pre-approved by America for Israel to go ahead and do this, but do you think that Israel is still the satellite of America, or do you think that there is some sort of proliferation within our government that has caused us some sort of, I don't know, entrapment scheme on an island with young boys?
Some institutional capture? Is that what you're getting at, to put this?
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, it's the institutional capture of dual citizens. That's how we'll put that.
Right.
Dual citizens don't have any impact on our government. Surely it's not allowed to serve and be a dual citizen, right?
Right. Damn, dude, where's my Kanye mask when I need it? I just need like my black mask where I'm gonna go on Alex Jones and be like, it's the Jews.
I'm not gonna say what race he was.
Damn, where's my mask when I need it? I don't know. It's like it's so I see exactly where you're coming from, and I waver back and forth on it, where it's like, no, surely like America has like some sort of autonomy, and then you're like bombarded, like my Instagram will bombard me with some pretty deep Jew hatred. I'm like, damn, they got us. It's like we're already done for. We're in the 4th round and we haven't even realized that we lost. So I don't know. I hope, but I guess what might indicate that that's not true is if we don't go to war with Iran, or we don't send B2s over there and drop 30,000-pound bunker busters, on Iran. That might show a little bit of autonomy. And it's hard to tell if like Donald Trump's even like in to what's going on, or if he's just like such a megalomaniac and he's such a fucking narcissist that he has to try to take credit. He's like, he can't stand to see something good or like good going on without him being involved, because there was like a change of tone. And he's like, you guys need to stop this. And he's like, of course, Israel, of course I know. And of course we're going to help them and all of this stuff. And it's like, what? Like, did you just like get talked at Fox News? Like, did he just watch Fox News one day and change his tune? Like, did he hear Lindsey Graham and all those other guys throughout the day? And he's like, maybe I should change my position on this because Fox News is the word of God and I am God. So therefore,
it's my word before I even knew it was mine, but now I have it. It's in my head. Message received. Yeah, I do think there was a lot of people using that as a gotcha moment. And I thought it was an interesting statement that he had with that reporter. But it did read to me a lot more like bolsterous Trump. That somebody was like, hey, did you even see this attack coming? And he's like, absolutely. I knew everything about this attack. I'm in the loop on everything. Nobody dares do anything and not tell Donald. It's that to me feels a little more just kind of bolsterous. Donald Trump can't stand to look like he didn't know exactly what was happening at all times, and everybody doesn't fear and shake in their panties when he walks by because he's the great and powerful Don. I would say too, I don't think it necessarily even proves that we are a proxy of Israel or that Israel has undue influence in our government if we do start bombing Iran. I mean, this is something our country's been targeting. We've had intel released from inside our own military about that group of 7 countries, and Iran was on it. So I don't know that us risking a nuclear fallout due to war with Iran even has anything to do with Israel. I think it might just be us kind of using Israel to get done the goals that we've had in our intelligence industry this entire time leading up and all the way back to the 90s.
Yeah, that's also my opinion on this as well. If this was what Israel wanted, it'd be like another thing in Syria. Because, they can get more land grabs. They can expand further into the Golan Heights like they did whenever they were making up nonsense about Assad. Or they talk about Hezbollah and Lebanon and, expand into Lebanon. Or they'll make up some new militant group in Jordan or Egypt. I think that's where Israel's interests mainly lie, in the Middle East. Iran doesn't have a direct land border with Israel. They can't sneak in and steal more land when they drop these bombs. And I think this is one that lies like heavily within the realm of what the U.S. military-industrial complex wants in the Middle East. And also, who's Iran's allies? It's China, Russia. They're kind of allied with the rest of BRICS, but not so well. They're fairly sanctioned by us. Their only trading sphere is also BRICS countries as well, and countries who are willing to flout the sanctions. This is 100% the U.S. I imagine that our goal is probably soft touch regime change, if I could say so. Drop a few bombs, knock out enough
of the Democrat war.
Exactly, a very Democrat war. And then you hope that with enough of leadership knocked out, that maybe some sort of what's the word for when things come from the ground? I don't know why.
Grassroots.
Yes. Hoping for a grassroots government to step in and
just like that, that Orange Revolution and
you just need some revolution and homegrown grassroots movement with some gender studies money from USAID. Go in there and fix all this.
Amen. I do wonder too that so much of this is probably just a capitalist war, in the sense that Iran doesn't have they're not on the US backed dollar. They're one of the few countries that's kind of out in the fold. They're just not playing ball, and we don't like that.
Hold on, dude. we cut them off from Swift. You can't be like they're not playing ball.
No, that's
We literally refused them to get like insurance for like diabetes shipments, so they couldn't receive them.
no doubt. And my guess is
I'm
my
sorry.
guess
I'll
is
stop
no.
laughing.
It's,
I know
it's
this
a
isn't
good
what
point.
you mean. I'm just
No, it's a good point. But my guess is that you probably it's probably like a long term, just like ratchet up the pressure and try to have something come from the inside where you get a generation of people they're so tired of being like oppressed by their government because like that's kind of my guess is that they've been playing the long game to try to get them onto the US petrodollar. And because we just don't like people that are and I understand like the sanctions, we did put them on them, but I see that though as like a pressure to try to make something crumble on the inside, so then we can come in and scoop in and clean up the mess and be like, oh yes, how about some UN loans and how about some petrodollars and and the same old
Give
game
them
as
our
always.
Dave and Buster's tickets that only can be spent in American style stores. Now you guys can play nice. So that brings me to another question I've been thinking about a little bit with this. So we hear all the time this kind of notion that Iran is the number one funder of terrorism around the world. That's something we love to. There's no metrics tied to that or reasons that that's the case, but we see that in the news cycle from time to time. They like to pump out. But then what we're talking about, our government's like very pointed way of going about this is like, no, we're not going to go straight into a war here, guys. That would be ridiculous. We're going to pressure them economically. We're going to sanction them a little bit. We're going to fund some, a little bit rowdy groups to go in there and maybe overthrow the government. And it's like, at what point, other than these are the ones you like and those are the ones you don't, is that any different from what they're doing with Hamas and Palestine? Or any of the groups that you're claiming are terrorist groups that they're funding? Don't you think they would consider these groups to be terrorist groups within their own government that are destroying infrastructure and trying to overturn their system and overtake it for themselves? I mean, what else do you call that if you're on the other side?
Freedom fighters, duh.
I don't know. I guess I just thought, I was thinking about that as I was driving today. It's like we say this all the time that they're the number one state funder of terrorism. But if you objectively remove yourself from the bias of being American or being of the West, it'd be pretty hard to make the case that America's not the number one funder of terrorism around the world, I would think.
Yeah. I mean, last time I haven't looked at this in a while, but we are like the number one. It's either, I don't know, maybe Russia overtook us sometime in the last 5 years, but at one point we were the world's largest like arms dealers. And there's the irony, right? In the Lord of War, he talks about like, oh, I'm the bad guy, but the 5 largest exporters of weapons are the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council. So at what point does the hypocrisy just, I don't know, become so rank?
You guys selling those guns to each other and jacking each other off, or what?
Our glorious leader, their wicked despot. It is. It's all about the perspective. But to your point, though, I think that you can make a very solid argument that America is one of the world's largest exporter of terrorism. It's what we do best, actually. And the CIA doesn't claim any of it because we're not involved.
Yeah, there's that too. You think Iran does all this, and they scream to Allah on the mountaintops every time they accomplish one terrorist attack. Like how many unknown CIA groups? How long it was Al Qaeda and ISIS running around the Middle East before we realized they were almost exclusively funded by American tax dollars.
Right.
Yeah, where did the money come from? Both sides, it's us after all. But yeah, I think it's just a matter of perspective here. Like we're funding our blessed soldiers, and the other side is funding their radical extremists. And whoever wins gets to say what the kids will hear about this in the future. And the real question is, which side do you want to be on, Logan? Do you want to be on the side of the bugs, or do you want to be on the side of the Galactic Federation?
Well, when you put it in spaceship trooper terms, There's enough nostalgia and buy-in from my childhood there that I'm going to strap that helmet right on.
I'm
Shoot
doing
some
my
laser
part,
beams
brother.
at the
I'm
bugs.
doing my part, baby. Let's go. Some xenophobia
I'm
is the
doing
way
my
for
part.
me.
I think he was implying xenophobia as the other side there.
No,
Well, I mean, we can't understand them, so we just have to assume that they're saying anti-Semitic things the entire time.
absolutely.
Like, what else could the bugs
It
possibly say?
translates to death to Israel. Everything they say.
The bugs were definitely not sitting there like, this is a peaceful mining colony. Please don't invade. We're just defending ourselves.
It's definitely we refuse to recognize Israel's right to exist.
I guess that means in this analogy that the Starship Troopers intelligence was Mossad, not the CIA, because they admitted that the bugs had feelings at the end of the movie.
Mm,
Mm.
yeah, well, good point.
Yeah, no, you're right.
It's
You're
closer
right.
to the world.
It does make you wonder though, like what side do you actually want to win, or what side do you want to support? Because now that since I have Lord of War in my head, when Nicolas Cage is talking to that guy at like the arms expo when he finally gets in, and he's like, "But you sold weapons to both sides," and he goes, did it ever occur to you that I want both sides to lose?" This seems like one of those things to me. It's like I don't necessarily want anybody to win, but it would be nice if both of you could just lose.
Actually, no. I want
Okay.
you guys to actually pick a side. I think this would be really fun. You have to pick a winner.
You know what? I'm gonna go with the downtrodden, oppressed brown people. Give me Iran in 5.
No, I
Okay,
have a fair share of my criticisms of the way we use our military might and the way we swing our big fat empirical dick at the rest of the world, and how that causes us to be less safe as Americans because you're only prodding all of these agitated forces around the world until the point that you're going to back them into a corner where the only thing they can do is strike back against you. And I'm a big believer in the math of insurgency, that when you kill one terrorist, you don't have one less terrorist, that you inspire so many more terrorists. And with all of that said, at the end of the day, I have to live in one of these countries, and I want that one to have the strongest economy it can. And if it comes down to us being an amoral country, and we can either be an amoral country that forces everybody onto the American oil dollar, or fails and has our house of cards fall out from underneath us, I would definitely like to continue to be in one of the richest countries in the world. So I'm probably on our side.
Choosing 5.
unironically, that's my opinion as well. We might be doing evil abroad, but this is still my home country, man. Run what
Very
you run.
fair.
I
Totally
cheered
fair.
for the
Yes,
Astros
it's-
while we were cheating the entire time, dude. I didn't care. Yeah, this is my team. Bang
Fair
that
enough.
garbage can, man. Go ahead.
Bang that trash can.
Yeah, there's always that reality of
Mm,
I want us to find a way out of the house of cards economically that we've built, that forces us to march all over the world to keep it afloat. And I would love for us to find some way to not live in that reality. However, I don't want to just pull that house of cards out from under us and us go into massive economic depression either. That would
Yep.
be probably the worst outcome available.
Well,
And
you
that's
guys,
ostensibly a lot of my bitching on that subject, is that that's the outcome that I think is most likely if we don't do something about it at some point.
you guys have sold me. I'm actually now like super hawkish on this one. I'm a little upset that we haven't already dropped 30,000 pound bombs on Iran. Like, let's go. Let's scramble the B2s out of Diego Garcia. Let's go. Like, let's just get this over with. No point in beating around the bush. Sorry, like you guys sold me. Israel in 5, baby. Let's go.
I mean, there may be Israel in 5. I just realized what the in 5 was you were referring to. Forgot we're in the middle of the NBA final season. I mean, there may be an argument too. That's one of the worries with war with Iran, is this isn't Iraq. It's not a bunch of goat farmers with AKs. Like, these are highly sophisticated weapon systems that they have, especially if you buy the narrative that they've, in lieu of developing nuclear technology, because they've been a good little Muslim boys over there, and they haven't been violating those treaties they've signed.
Of course not.
That they've poured their research into all these supersonic missiles. And then if you correlate that idea with all of the footage that we've had in the last couple of days of the Iron Dome and Tel Aviv getting just lit up, it would seem that maybe some of those claims that they have these supersonic missiles that are a little bit hard to shoot out of the sky might be true.
Well, it could be. And, China has been flying in support as well. There have been several instances over the last couple of days where Chinese military cargo ships have flown in and turned off their transponders. So no idea where they're going or what they're bringing. But I'd be surprised if it was just food aid or like water or something. I'm sure it's something a bit more useful than that. And you're right. They do have missile stockpiles. I think they had like 4,000 ballistic missiles or something before they started firing them. And they've been firing a couple hundred a night. So, I mean, they could probably do this for a couple months. And if they get more shipments from like China or Russia, who knows? It could go on for a while. And, obviously it's in China's interest. They're kind of like the opposite of the U.S. in this instance, where like they're kind of okay with more disarray going into like Israel and keeping Iran outside of like our trading sphere. Because, the interesting thing about the sanctions is because China is willing to like flaunt them, they can buy oil and anything else Iran produces at 20% below cost just because it's a captive market. So like China has no interest in the sanctions ending or Iran actually joining the broader economic sphere. They'd much rather have Iran be like a captive. I don't know. It's kind of like a weird form of a colony in like a lot of ways. It's like an anti-colony. They didn't create it. Like we created I don't know, I'm forgetting words. I've been sick for so long, it's getting dumb. But we created the circumstances for China to like have access to this captive market that actually produces a few things and has like a fairly decent population base. Like, they're not totally useless. So, they have an interest in prolonging this for as long as they can, especially if they can do it as like a third party who's just kind of watching from the sidelines. So who knows? And maybe Russia feels the same. Maybe they don't. I imagine Russia still wants to maintain as much of their munitions for themselves. This whole Ukraine thing, we had peace talks going, and I don't know what happened. I'm assuming they just kind of
like disappeared. They fizzled out, or they just got lost in the news cycle because we got
a little bit distracted.
Things.
I think there was also a Ukrainian strike on some Russian nuclear sites.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So that put a halt to them real quick.
That's right. The ceasefire is gone because they did sneak those drones in and hit like a good chunk of their nuclear bomber fleet as well.
A bunch of airplanes. So, yeah, there was a pretty crippling strike. I mean, it was a significant portion of their air force. It also makes you wonder too about like alternative timelines, because if my memory serves me right, after the fall of the Soviet Union, Vladimir Putin came to George Bush and he was just like, hey, let's not be enemies anymore. And let's like turn our attention to, things that we can agree on that are problems in the international order, like North Korea and Iran. And George Bush was like, go fuck yourself. I think
you tried to kill my daddy in Iran.
And if my memory serves me correct, that was something that Putin offered. Now, I don't know how genuine that was, right? You never know the intentions behind it, but it makes you wonder about a world where they had like instead of the US just dragging out the Cold War because our foreign policy, you know what I mean, just like Russia bad, and we just kept saying that, instead of like, I don't know, teaming up with Russia and be like, yeah, let's actually like stop these international pariahs from becoming more of a problem. I wonder, it just makes you wonder about all of the different things that wouldn't have happened, but also what other problems we would be dealing with that would be possibly way worse. It's hard to, there's no way to know.
It's
but
funny.
It is interesting.
It's that thing where when people get to that level of power, they inevitably start looking at it like a game of Risk. We're like, here's all the pieces on the chessboard, and we can move them around. And hey, there's another almost equally strong or 75% as powerful player on the board as me. I could team up with them, and we could really dominate this board. But on every game of Risk, at some point, no matter what kind of treaty you have, as soon as there's a chink in your armor, that's when they backdoor you and try to make their move to win the big game. And you almost see that on this international leadership scale, where it's like, what are you even fighting Russia for? And it's like, because someday they may become me, and there can only be one me. Like, Like, we cannot get along with the second place guy. They have to, at all costs, be stifled by our intelligence community.
And that's totally fair. And if there was ever a point in time when it would make the least sense for us to want to team up with Russia, it would be in the late 90s and early 2000s when Putin and Bush were sitting down. Russia would be at the weakest they've been in a while, whereas we're hegemon. We're basically the hegemon at that point. So it's like, what leverage do you have, Russia, to offer us any sort of alliance other than global peace and, the chance to move forward as a species?
You want any part of that?
Nothing to offer whatsoever on the table.
That doesn't sound like honor or glory.
But it is still interesting to think about like that alternate history and what that world might have looked like. Would the International Space Station have been more expanded? Would it have been cooler? Or would the Russians have just kind of fucked everything up if we let them get a little too intertwined with us? Would they have convinced Europe per se to lean more towards Russia than towards us? Would there be some sort of I don't know what the word is, what you would call it, but like a Russo-European alliance? Would the EU have gained a new member of Russia controlling the EU? Like, a lot of interesting things could have happened where suddenly we're on the back foot on the other side of the Atlantic with less allies than we thought we had.
Oh, and only 8 carrier strike forces in 2 giant oceans. Oh no.
Yeah,
what are they going to do?
Semantics,
That's a good
but
point, though.
It'll be over my cold, dead body before I watch a metric system wrench float through my space station. God damn it! Will not happen. It's actually kind of interesting. I always thought that, of course, we could control it for the most part, but the International Space Station, shockingly, it feels like has done a good job of cooperating with each other, despite whatever the politics on the ground are. Like, there's always kind of ships going in and out doing the thing. They seem to roll on despite our quibbles here on Earth, under the clouds. Maybe there's something to being up above the marble and looking down at it that makes you go like, what are we doing down here? Why are we just throwing shit at each other like chimps?
Oh, Vlad, that's the least fancy thing I've ever heard you say. They all come down with their monocles and their nice top hats.
So, do y'all think that this ongoing conflict that we've been watching is going to end up turning into World War III at some point? Bringing all these world powers in, multiple conflicts, China, Taiwan, Ukraine, Russia, Greece, Turkey. I'm just tossing it in there just because I'm sure they want to hear it. And then Israel.
They still want to fight.
Malacas.
Can't agree over Cyprus, man.
They removed that woolen rug and released the secret door in front of the fireplace to pull out their bronze weapons one more time. Finally, the time has come once again. To Troy for Helen.
It's gonna burn up the Greeks so much they finally discovered where Troy was, and it's in Turkey. They're fighting over Cyprus, but I'm sure Greece is like, we own like half of Turkey. Half of that's us. 30% of your population are still Greeks, ethnic Greeks. They should be paying taxes to us. They should be on our welfare, not yours.
There is an irony of that, of like, the entire world looks at them and is like, I can't tell Turks and Greeks apart. And then there's this, as they vehemently hate each other, they'll point across the line and be like, you're all ethnically Greece anyway. And the rest of us are like, that's what we're saying, guys. That's what we've all been saying. You all look exactly the same.
It is kind of funny too, because when you think about like the concept of like a Turkic people, from like the genetic standpoint, we're all thinking about like Mongolians and like Kazakhstanis and whatnot, true Turks. When it comes to actual Turkey, they're basically just Greeks mixed with Armenians. Like there's maybe a tiny bit of Syrians, but even Syrians look like Greeks too. Like the whole country is just Greeks, but for whatever reason, it's a blood feud over there, man.
I mean, we forget sometimes that before the Romans, the Greeks kind of conquered all that stuff once over too. So that's kind of how it goes. It's like everybody's got little Greeks sprinkled in this whole area.
So
right?
what
And
you're
then
saying is that they didn't do a good job with their not genocide of the Armenians? If they're still ethnically Armenian?
should have
It's
taken
like,
out more,
"Oh,
man.
we
I'm
were"
saying there's
it's
a
like
couple grease men that were able to get over a girl having a little bit of knuckle hair.
Look, where I come from, we kiss the back of the knuckle to say bye, but we're really just checking for hairs, man. That's it.
Roma, Roma.
But back to World War III. You guys
I
think it's gonna happen, or do you think nothing ever happens?
I I wonder how long the long peace is gonna last. Only because when you get more players with nuclear weapons, the stakes just increase exponentially, and nobody wants to fight a war because if you start fighting wars, then oh well, I guess we have to use war tactics, and war tactics are nuclear weapons. It's like, oh, if we're fighting total war, then we need to win. And I just wonder, I wonder just how long we're all gonna like play this game where we're like, no, we're not at war. I know that Russian pilots are bombing Americans in Korea that are killing Chinese, but no, it's not a war, guys. It's like it's as Truman called it, it's not a war. This is a police action, and I wonder how long that facade is going to keep up because if it does start to go hot, how long till like the nation, like let's say that there is some sort of like breakout of conflict, how many dead Americans, how many dead Chinese, how many dead Russians are those populations willing to suffer before they're like, damn, why don't you guys just nuke them? Like we have ways to end this war, why don't you do it? I hope that the long peace continues. I hope that nuclear weapons were something that, even though like we did develop and we did drop a couple of second suns on Japan just to, drive home the, don't touch our boats. It's just like drive home the lesson. There are boats, you don't touch them. I I would like, if I allow myself to be optimistic, that was one of the best things that we could have ever done in terms of like humanity, because everybody now has an understanding like, oh, actually, like we all die. And there's no winning as soon as that starts happening. And so it's my hope that World War III could be avoided, because nobody actually really wants to go to war. Because I mean, all of these things, they're all like, and I know that that's all war, but these are all like very regional aspects, right? Like Taiwan, China wants to unify Taiwan. That's not the same as like Hitler saying like, I'd actually like all of Europe. Those are two different conversations. Or even like Russia saying like, I'd like Ukraine. That's a lot different than Russia saying I want all of Europe, or Israel doing what it is with Iran. That's different than Israel saying, I actually like all of the Middle East. And so I hope that nuclear weapons have kind of limited the scope of what we are willing to fight for, if that makes sense.
It's interesting. I've never seen this meme before. You think somebody would have done like a Japan 1945 flag with just an added red sun on the flag?
Land of the rising sun. How about two?
Now, there was a night we had a podcast with one of our guests, and after we had turned the recording off, we talked to her about some insights she claimed to have about nuclear weapons being fake. Have you guys ever put any serious credence into the thought that maybe this is like kind of the idea of they had to invent a boogeyman? Like, hey, nuclear weapons are so powerful that we can't actually go to hot war with each other anymore, guys.
Okay, so just so I understand the
What?
conspiracy theory, it's essentially we're being told that like history is fake about nuclear weapons, and that it's being peddled to us as propaganda, so that we think that there's some big scary war thing that's going to happen that'll level an entire city, so that we're afraid of going to war. Is that the crux of the conspiracy theory?
Essentially, that was the that nukes had been some level of self-control for the warmongering that was going on around the world, by convincing people that there was this new bomb that lasted years and years after you dropped it. via the radiation poisoning.
Huh.
It's a tough conspiracy theory. Like, I like where it's going. It's got like good legs behind it as far as like, oh, maybe there's some fake history being fed to us. We can all get behind that.
Sure.
But like, it's kind of hard to forget about all the like active radiation sites that exist and like where we can go see them. We can go get radiation poisoning right now if we want to.
Right. It's like you can irradiate yourself if you'd like.
Maybe you shills can.
That's
me.
That's one of those
faking the radiation poisoning symptoms.
Right. It's like anything
Wasn't
that you
that-
put your mind to.
Wasn't that, I don't know why this popped in my head, but isn't that how John Wayne ultimately died?
What,
No idea.
radiation cancer?
I believe when he was
Like,
filming.
I guess that's leukemia.
When he was filming the Conqueror, a 1956 film where John Wayne played Genghis Khan himself. Let's see. They were exposed to nuclear fallout from a nuclear testing site where they were filming. I guess they found an old nuclear testing site out in Nevada where they thought that looked like the best representation of Mongol steppes because it had been
Interesting.
melted to glass by nuclear weapons, and that's where they shot that film. And then he later died of cancer.
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, I'm glad that you remember this because I guess I've buried that like so deep that I don't remember. But that's like such a hard one for me because it's one of those stories that isn't told much because like the government didn't tell any, right? Like Trinity test, nobody's like, there's no conversation about that. And there was a girls' camp that was downwind of the test site, and they write in their journals about the day that like the white snow came down in the summer, and they like stuck their tongues out and they bathed in it, and they all died of cancer like 7 years later, right?
You can laugh at nuclear weapons not being true, but Leah Thomas was one of those girls in that camp. So
is that how she
Now-
got so good at swimming? Damn.
Also, I just have to share this because I find this funny. I was just like fact checking Logan while he was talking. So, according to Google, John Wayne's cancer was not related to radiation exposure while filming The Conqueror. While
Not
the film
related.
was shot on a nuclear test site, and many of the cast and crew members later developed cancer from radiation, the scientific consensus is that he didn't.
yes, they were all on a radioactive nuclear testing site, but they also all
But-
smoked cigarettes at the same time. So
And some of them
Who
shared the
knows?
cigarettes too. So I'm sure they shared the cancer with each other because that's how that works.
All this means is that Google's in on it. Clearly, they don't believe in nuclear weapons either, and they're just trying to spread the gospel. Nukes aren't real.
Dude, that's I'm gonna start saying that unironically now to people. I'm gonna look people dead in their eye and be like, nukes aren't real. Birds aren't real
that's all
either.
just fear mongering. That's your
This
government
entire
trying to
world is a
scare you out of
simulation.
hand-to-hand combat.
You just have to wake up. You don't know how to do
Ignore
that?
me.
Come on.
Oh, you're so
Take the red
unwoke.
pill.
Yeah, I'm down here for fun, man. I like sleeping with y'all.
Right, this is fun.
I can wake up
Come
But
home.
to get back to your question, I do feel slightly more hair raised on the back of my neck when it comes to this one. And maybe it's because Israel has already been such an inflammatory element within the Middle East. And something about them doing the preemptive strike on Iran, who up to this point seems to have done a pretty good job of, I mean, of course, there's some allegations that they've positioned themselves to develop a nuclear weapon if they need to in short order. And they're definitely enriching uranium around the country for non-nuclear weapon type activity. But it stinks to me a lot of kind of what we saw in Russia with Ukraine. We're continuing to back them into a corner to, at some point, what do they do but lash out? What options do they have left? And I wonder if we don't put the pressure on them. Maybe that's the crux of it. If we don't actually step in with offensive military force, we've already supplied some defensive military force as far as shooting down missiles and supplying missiles to Israel. But if we don't actually step in American boots on the ground, maybe Israel doesn't have the force to actually get this done. And that's what keeps it from hitting that boiling point ultimately. But I don't know. It seems like we sure didn't hesitate when our opportunity to start pushing towards war with Iran came up. And we've been clearly wanting to go to war with Iran my entire lifetime, by everything I've ever heard that's come out from behind the scenes of our military industrial complex. So it does worry me a little bit that we're not going to let this go, that we have some kind of agenda here that we've unleashed, that we've been after Iran's ass for a long time. And now we're like using Israel as our reason to get us into this situation. So I'm a little bit nervous, especially when you see already China supplying, and who knows how long before Russia probably would really enjoy a little respite from our international attention on their war in Ukraine. If they could get it to everybody staring at Israel in the Middle East, they could come up with a pretty quick resolution to that Ukraine issue of their own.
Yeah, they certainly could. And at some point, I imagine like most of these countries in conflict have to kind of just decide that like we might as well band together on this one in some way, shape, or form. And I feel like that wouldn't be to our benefit or the kind of long peace that you're talking about, Matt, as well. And maybe the long peace has to end because I've always felt in general that like most kind of borders and like international interactions have to be shaped by blood in some way, form, or another. And if we're living through like kind of like what I'd say a false assembly or false interactions, the only way we resolve that is by like having a war, rewriting the borders, redeciding what the actual like hegemonic lines of control are going to be, and then trying to go from there. Because like I think globally the countries disagree, and there is no like global court they can go to resolve this. So
Right.
if it's not going to be diplomacy, it's going to end up being like a larger scale war. And obviously, I don't want that, but
Of
it
course.
feels like that's where we're going.
I also do wonder too about like the internal politics on all of this stuff because I'm not super versed in Israeli domestic politics, but I know that Netanyahu has to appease his right flank, lest all of those things, all of that stuff that he was kind of in hot water about right before 10/7 happened. So like that, like the right flank of his country is always wanting more, and if he does not appease that, at least from my like very rudimentary understanding of Israeli domestic politics, like as soon as that right wing isn't appeased, then he's done for. And so it's in his interest to always be saber rattling, always like Gaza, Hamas, whatever is going on in he's like he has incentive to keep drumming up the war drum. But in America, we're starting to see like there's divides in even the right wing of it because you get people like Marjorie Taylor Greene. Now, do I think that Marjorie Taylor Greene's like her assessment of international politics and foreign policy is all that comprehensive? Not necessarily, but it is interesting somebody that is.
Yeah, guys, we have to make sure we have control of Israel so Jesus has somewhere nice to land when he comes back.
But it's funny that you say that because she pretty much said the opposite. Where she's just like, it's not anti-Semitic to say that America first, and America has no business being involved in this war. And it's so interesting to see the right flank, like somebody like you would, if somebody said like, give me a MAGA politician, she is one of the very first ones that I would say. But there's splits on that. And I mean, I was just reading this article that's talking about lawmakers on both sides of the aisle in both houses are moving to, and Congress isn't going to do shit, right? Like, let's get that square first, because the reason that we're in this mess is because Congress is neglected and delegated to the executive branch over the last 80 years. And that's what got us into this whole fucked up mess where Congress is a bunch, now they essentially rubber stamp stuff. But regardless of the actual practical applications of what won't happen, it is interesting that people that you would think were firmly in the MAGA Donald Trump camp are saying like, I don't know, D, maybe we're not down with this one. And I wonder how much or how little that will influence decision making, because if you start losing people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, how like can you contain that? Does it snowball into an ultimate? You know what I mean? Like those are those unquantifiable things in politics that time will tell. But it is interesting to see that there's already splits on the right flank of Donald
Yeah.
Trump as well.
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, it said that split amongst just the MAGA crowd is interesting. Where like you have the most fervent Donald Trump supporters are even split on this, because you have some who are fervent supporters because they truly do have this American first thing in them,
Right.
that's kind of at the core, and they're like, what the fuck do we give a shit about some other country across the world? But you can see that divide too, and there's definitely the other side where it's like, the same ones that were, look how smart Elon and Trump are for playing 5D chess and tricking the media into thinking they're having a fight. Like all the like everything Trump does, no matter how much egg is on his face, it's always like, this is actually secretly really brilliant, and you guys don't understand how smart all that is.
You're just not smart enough to understand.
Well,
You're just
look,
too
some
simple.
people are born lucky, man. And when you're born lucky, everything you do turns into fried eggs and ham, dude. Whether it's rotten eggs on your face, just give it some time; they'll grow on you. But I would say that the split within American politics makes perfect sense, though. You know, I'd say like a good chunk of the right wing is experiencing brown war fatigue. You know, many people our age have never really been alive for a point in time when we weren't in some sort of long, expansive occupation. And so I think a lot of people are concerned that we're just going to be into another one. And I think almost everyone is kind of also under the experience of like asking Congress to stop a war is impossible. It was impossible to withdraw troops from Syria from 2016 to 2020 because all of a sudden it's unconstitutional. And so, you know, when you think to yourself, like if you're anti-war, how do you actually end a war? It's like, well, they've told us we can't stop one. So our only thing is just to not start one. So I think a lot of people are very hesitant, whether they might be on the side of Israel or not. I think they're still very hesitant about the idea of starting another war, whether it's for good or for bad, just because, you know, I don't want to be 58 and still talking about like the occupation of Iran or any other nonsense like that. And I think that's fresh on everybody's mind, because like the other question that people I think really want to know the answer to is, do we believe that Donald Trump's administration could actually engage in some sort of limited combat and not turn it into like a decade-long quagmire? And I guess I'm asking that question to y'all. Do y'all believe his administration could do that? Or do you think it's almost impossible that once they start, the military-industrial complex is going to get its claws sunk in and start contracting for nonsense for the next couple decades?
I guess as soon as you asked that question, I had a different worry, is that the impulse control of that administration, I have very little confidence that it's not going to be a decades long Afghanistan, Vietnam type quagmire. It's like, oh shit, we just like nuke somebody, or you know, or like we just glassed half of a country in an afternoon because Donald Trump was having a bad day, and Fox News, Lindsey Graham was on Fox News telling him what he should do. I feel like if it was to come to actual blows, I'm very suspicious of their ability to fight a protracted, restrained war and not just be like, well, go ahead and get them all. You know, like since we're here,
Finish it off.
yeah.
I don't know. I do think that even the craziest forces within that room of CIA pre-approved potential world leaders that have voices in the ears of a Donald Trump or a Joe Biden or whoever's in office, I think they all kind of understand this mutually assured destruction idea.
Mad.
I think they're a little bit worried about nukes enough that they probably all think that's a bad idea. So I don't know if I'm worried about Donald dropping a nuke. I'm worried about, again, the kind of the quagmire situation you're talking about before that, of us getting drawn into it. And I do think Donald Trump is more easily swayed by articulate language than the average president in our history, and that the right person in his ear can really sway that. But I don't think that those voices would probably sway him into dropping nuclear bombs. I kind of wanted to ask, like, do you guys think that public opinion even has any effect on it at this point? I mean, we're not going through Congress anymore.
None.
We didn't seem like we had any consultation. There wasn't any Twitter poll Donald Trump put up before he started. I wonder, does it even matter? I don't think so.
I don't, because there's enough studies and data that like public support of something doesn't change. Like, if more people support something, does not make it more likely that Congress is going to pass a bill. It doesn't mean that your legislator, even at the state level, is going to do something. Public support doesn't matter. They don't listen to the peasants. And like, I'm very torn on that because I am a peasant, but the other part of me is like, yeah, good. Don't listen to them. They don't know what's good for them. You know, like the peasants must be corralled. And that's like my fascist tendencies coming out because I can't shake them still. And so I'm very split on it, but I don't think that public support matters one bit because Donald Trump's underwater in literally every category except immigration. And everyone was down with the deportations until they started rounding up their, the corner workers that you depended at Home Depot to help you finish your weekend project. Or
until they were standing at the back of her graduation pointing at people cheering when Gutierrez got her diploma.
For sure. And
check that one.
And so he's underwater on literally every topic or metric except immigration, and even that one he's losing support. But that's not gonna, like, his administration is not going to change. They're not going to make policy decisions based on the fact that people don't like it, because why would he? He's a second-term president.
Yeah, he ain't worried about re-election.
Yeah. Fortunately, I guess all of this warmongering has quelled the third term talks, so we don't have to at least suffer through that for right now. I'm sure it'll come back up at one point, but and so like, why would he? So
that is, by the way, Donald Trump's definitely gonna drop that at some point, right? Like he will. He's enough of a troll that the 3-year mark, he will do something about like, we've looked into it. It's too bad a great president can't go 3 terms. We're looking into it now to see if there's anything, just to make the left sense explodes. I feel like that's an inevitability, right?
Yeah, I think it is. Maybe not. Maybe it's not inevitable, but it wouldn't shock me. And there was a really interesting discussion that I heard of a couple of constitutional lawyers talk about the loopholes and how he could actually do it. Because like the language is pretty clear. No person can serve president for more than 2 terms. And then there's another, like, that loops back to another one, that no person who is not eligible for the presidency.
Too bad I'm not a person anymore. I'm now a robot. Robot Trump, President Robot Trump forever.
And so the other part of that is like, no person that is ineligible for the presidency can serve as vice president. But the loophole is that the Speaker of the House can be anybody. It does not have to be a sitting member of Congress. So they elect Donald Trump as the Speaker of the House, and then the president and the vice president resign, and now he's the third in line. That is kind of the legal pathway that you could get around those pesky constitutional rules. Those things that that damn Constitution.
Either that or JD Vance runs with his vice president being the guy with the buffalo helmet, and then they both sacrifice themselves ceremoniously on the White House step.
I'm so down with that timeline. If that's what leads to a third Trump presidency, I'm down. I'm
just applauded at that point. Like, you know
for
what?
Sure.
That was pretty good. Pretty good, man.
You can't knock the hustle. Like,
I don't know. JD Vance is so precious, though. If he committed seppuku in the Oval Office, I don't think I'd ever recover from that, man.
Oh, we're gonna have to do some AI image generation tonight, so you can make the best JD Vance seppuku.
All right, I'm gonna try it right now.
Make sure you put in there the somber look on his face, because he's doing it for the greater good of mankind.
Doing it for Daddy D.
All right, if there is anything ChatGPT can't do, it's gonna. Oh yeah, it's already telling me now. Okay.
Hold on. You know how to trick this. Do your magic, sir.
Look, there are certain things I can't get it to do, and the depictions of suicide is one of them. I've been trying to get a Jeffrey Epstein video out of it.
4 Pride Month after that. See,
4 Pride Month.
4 Pride Month.
You know, there's somebody in the CIA that goes home every night and bitches to his wife about how hard it is to make that exact same Jeffrey Epstein video you're talking about. He's been trying for years at this point to make it conceivable
sure.
of him hanging himself with toilet paper in that little jail cell.
Until, didn't you guys talk about that last episode? Like, as soon as the AI imagery is good, then we're gonna get the Jeffrey Epstein tapes. Where,
in 6 months is when I think we're gonna get the Epstein tape. Finally.
Oh, the cameras actually didn't fail. Like, we finally doctored in. We've recovered all of that footage. And here you go, undoctored.
Look, you can see the security guard asleep there with all 6 fingers.
So they release it, and Jeffrey Epstein has 2 left hands. God damn it! That was in the file the whole time. You guys didn't read that he had 2 left hands. I don't know what you're talking about.
Bro, that was his identifying mark. That's how they could
double left Epstein, like we always call
see.
him.
Look at this massage file on him. We've known this the whole time. You guys didn't, huh? You guys are stupid.
Guess you didn't hear. Yeah, we just released the file. One of the redacted things in there was 2 left hands. Actually, I don't know if you guys. We got to it. Don't worry. Oh.
Well,
yeah, I do. Please go.
I do have to say one thing here that I think is kind of funny. Just through some bureaucratic shenanigans, it's not anyone's fault. Marco Rubio has 5 different roles now. And so he's I think he holds 3 of the 7 seats that are on the council that are in charge of what's going on with Iran right now. And low key, I kind of trust him, I kind of trust little Marco. I feel like he's going to make a decision that isn't going to totally fuck us or get us stuck in a forever war. But I have no idea what's going to happen. And ultimately, Trump gets to make his decision. But I want to believe that we're not going to end up in another forever war, because it would just ruin my psyche if we did, forever. I already have massive trust issues with anybody in any sort of government position. And the last little bit of it that I have left is still clinging on right now.
And it's in the hands of Marco Rubio. Holy 100%, shit. What a 100%. Fragile world you live in.
I never would have expected to be here, but low key, I kind of enjoy it, man. Who is our strongest warrior? Who among you will stand to represent you?
And Marco Rubio said, "It is I, Lord, send me."
If only we could astral project to where Marco Rubio is right now, smoking his 7th consecutive cigarette over a bottle of whiskey, staring at spreadsheets of information about Iran and just sweating his tits off.
Bro, I'm getting such a strong image right now. Trump is Agamemnon fainting off against Bagrius. And he's like, little Marco! The kid's there. I wouldn't fight that man. He's huge.
And Marco says, and that's why
no one will remember your name.
He says that to some aide that's all disheveled with their tie. Their tie loose and their sweat stains obvious, and he stands up in his clean suit. That's why.
That's the biggest terrorist I've ever seen.
But Marco, that's the largest state sponsor of terrorism the world's ever seen. I wouldn't want to fight him, and that's why no one will remember your name. He straightens up his tie and walks outside.
Do you think this could be the potential for our modern day Troy, to continue this analogy, that at some point in the future, their archaeologists dig up and they're like, oh, wow, all those American documents were true. They really did glass over this country called Iran. It actually was a real thing. We didn't realize.
And they did it for the lulz, whatever that means.
We think it's some kind of deity they worshipped.
It's lost in translation, obviously.
Obviously.
Oh, man. That was
Jesus
good.
Christ.
That was solid imagery. Well done, everybody.
ChatGPT is making the image right now too. I'm here for it, dude.
What was the question that got us here?
We were asking if we believe it's possible for the Trump administration
Oh,
to
that's
engage in
right.
like a limited conflict without
Hmm.
having some sort of forever occupation.
And it is
It would be.
worrisome. I mean, Trump's a little more swayable. He's got a little bit of that populist in him where if he thinks it's a good enough idea, the public is 100% behind it. He has the ability to change direction. Unfortunately, it seems like he was much more apt to change direction when it's campaign season in favor of what the public's screaming at him, and much more in favor of changing direction to what the state's telling him once he's actually in office, which I guess can be said for every politician in the history of mankind.
No, we got to give him some credit. He did change his flip flop on the whole deportation of hotel workers and farm workers. So it's back to deportation again.
Because he has a lot of buddies in those industries that were like, "Hey, dude, you're fucking up the bottom line over
You're
here.
really
Could you
shitting in my
leave-
punch bowl.
Could you leave our front desk clerk alone, please?"
Yeah, but like, you know, they're back on. Deportations are back on. They reversed policy. It was just a 4-day thing of, I'm assuming, people screaming at JD Vance on Twitter and then JD being like, "Hey, Trump, I don't think this is going so well." Like, I assume. I don't really know where else Trump is getting.
So did that
feedback from.
say, did they reverse that? Because I know that there was kind of not an order, but kind of like a memo that we're not going to be targeting these industries. Has that already been rescinded?
Yeah, I think that got reversed yesterday evening.
Damn.
Let me
Just
see if I
long
can
enough to
find
get
it.
everybody off his fucking back, and he's like, "All right, now back to getting the Browns." It's like
Let me see if I can find it.
like New Mexico, we don't need any of them. We're trying to get rid of the old ones.
I can see that. I mean, there's been a lot of reports from behind closed doors that Trump is not very happy with the lackluster numbers of deportations so far.
Yeah, it was it was reversed yesterday evening around 8 p.m.
Oh, wow. See, I'd missed
How
that. I made my
many
joke in the face of that
people
information.
have been
Totally fair.
deported in 2025.
I believe I heard that that currently they're not on pace to deport more than Biden did in his last year.
Yeah, I have no idea. I've also heard some things. I'm not sure if they're true. I wasn't able to confirm them or not. But they said that 1 million people had self-deported this year. And I have no way of confirming that. And like, I haven't found any good sources for it.
Yeah,
It was just, I forgot who said it. It was like some major outlet. Might have been WAPO or someone.
So this says
Oh, it was New York Post.
that there's been roughly 200,000 people over a 4-month period deported. Those are rookie numbers. Those aren't even Obama numbers. I mean, dude, how easily that we forgot that they called Obama the deporter in chief. Like,
Yeah, but
pick it
it
up,
does-
Trump.
It does beg the
Gross.
question, like,
I want to
where
see
were
like where
Obama's
the images of
deportations
like the
coming from?
crying abuelas and the bruised children and the pets being like left, on the tarmac as they like pace back and forth and like chase, like I want to see the chihuahuas run down,
Packs of chihuahuas gone feral.
like running down the runway after their owners, like that. Like, where are those images? That's what I want to see.
They got my cat yesterday. The cat took out 3 chihuahuas before they took him down, but it's a tough cat.
And then the cat strolled to Koreatown and they got the cat.
There was the funny moment where Trump said something about in lieu of the numbers being low, and kind of said something about maybe they need to go to Home Depot, and then literally there was an ICE raid at a Home Depot the next day. So it's like they're listening to Trump improv and be like, "Ooh, hey, that's actually not bad. Let's go ahead and book that for tomorrow."
Well, I mean, isn't that how the whole like Los Angeles thing started? Is that because the Home Depot is like right across the street from one of their field offices, and so I'm sure that this is how I picture this going down.
I'm trying to set a quota record. I'm going to go over and during my lunch break.
Like the ICE commander is saying all of these things, and somebody's like, "Hey, there's a Home Depot across the street." He's like, "Oh, it's like Jesus Christ, that's brilliant. Let's just."
I literally
let's just
see
scroll
30
over there.
illegals right now.
He's like, "Oh, let's just start there," and all of a sudden you get like and then hence what happens in LA. But I wonder if it's like, "Oh shit, they're right in front of us. Let's just."
Do you think that the Mexican community at large was outraged by these guys who got arrested? Maybe I should not say at large, because at large is a little too. Do you think the Mexican people in that neighborhood were sympathetic to those guys that got picked up across the street from the ICE office, or do you think they were more like, who the fuck goes looking for work outside of the ICE office, you dumb shits? Go to another Home Depot.
It's kind of like, if you've ever set up like a deer stand, like right across from a deer feeder, they don't get shot at the deer feeder for enough days in a row. Eventually, they just hang out there all the time.
They just come back, right? They forget that feeder's not cool anymore.
Fuck! I forgot about immigration season. Do you think those immigration officers watch that in the similar way that some of my country brethren watch the deer stand and have their big buck Mexican picked out all year for the day they get to go on a raid?
Oh, I bet, dude. I bet.
I'm getting that one,
do.
Dude.
Hey,
I saw one the other
Styles.
day. 6'7". I'm not even kidding. I've never seen a Mexican that tall.
I'm gonna bag it. I didn't even know Mexicans grew that big.
As soon as October rolls around, a Day of the Dead gets here, we're getting them.
They do that thing like when somebody shoots a bear where they spread their hand out real big for the picture. How big his fucking paw is, man.
Jesus Christ! Now
Alice is all over it. This one's been working for a long time.
See, this is like how toxic my brain is. Like now, I want to see like ICE agents on like posting on their official channels like trophy pictures with seafood
Mexicans.
For sure. Like that's what I want to see now.
Wait, didn't they do that
Instead of,
once with that one woman who they made the meme of her?
Oh, yeah,
dude,
the chubby
the
girl.
White House
Yeah,
made
yeah.
the meme. Oh, dude, that's-
Do you think it's like points on an antler, except it's like tattoos on a neck? Like this one was a 7-pointer right here.
there's definitely some sort of metric that's equivalent. It's like this is a good one. Like this is and that's what I want to see the trophy Mexicans. I want-
Yeah, I wonder what that metric would be, because like I used to travel down to Brownsville, Texas, right on the border. Brownsville, I believe, which is like 15 miles north of the border. Yeah, there's the me.
Dude, I can't believe that the White House.
Patriots are in charge, baby.
Did you say Patriots are in charge? Oh,
Sorry, anyways, Logan, you're saying about Brownsville?
Oh, that like I was just kind of wondering what the metrics are for the good Mexican, because when you get closer to the border in Texas, ironically, all of the Mexican women turn blonde. And it's I almost think it's like a discernment thing where they're like, hey, I'm on this side. I'm
right.
not one of those
I'm not
Mexicans.
one of those.
Look how much I've
dirty
Americanized
brown
myself.
hair. Yeah. That's also been like a huge swing. Like legal immigrants have like swung so far to the right in terms of immigration over the last 10 years. That's one of those things that, no political theorist ever saw coming. It's like, oh, of course, like legal immigrants are always going to want their countrymen to come over. And there's like, nope, fuck that, deport them, get them Browns out of here. They didn't do it the right way. MAGA, baby, stop the steal.
Oh, sorry. I stopped sharing as soon as hold on. This one.
What in nation, bro?
Keeper just reminded me of that. I had to go find it real fast.
Oh my god. Man, sometimes we live in like our timeline is so blessed. Like the fact that the border, like the Arizona Border Patrol and state police are doing their their videos with like dubbed out Creed, Hold Me Now. It's like it's so good. Oh, I love it.
We have a lot of fun with it, at least, that as our empire is degrading under our feet, at least we have the internet and dank meme culture to share all of this information with each other,
Oh,
I
100%.
I imagine that we're having about the same amount of fun as like Romans did, where they're because they would still do their propaganda posters on they'd still paint on the walls of Julius Caesar's mistress getting railed by him and Mark Antony, and I'm sure that they had a great time up until the time the barbarians were actually at the gates. I guess that's like one of the privileges that I'm not even, like none of us are even like upper middle class, but that's just one of those nice things about not being like an absolute poor peasant is that you get to enjoy a little bit of culture as the collapse happens around you.
A little bit of lulls, a couple of trolling jobs here and there.
They seem to worship the lull.
How long do you think the Romans went before it was okay to make jokes about Caesar getting like stabbed 15 times, whatever?
In certain circles that afternoon.
Yeah. I was thinking too. It probably didn't take long.
Yeah,
They were completely tired of his shit.
definitely. Because I mean, I imagine that we occupy the same role where there's a lot of people. I'll make a joke about something like, "Bro, too soon." I'm like, I don't think so. That's like it's prime time to be making these jokes. I imagine that it was the same then. That it's like you can't talk about Caesar. He's like, it's like yeah. So what? Like he just got stabbed. I'm supposed to not make a joke about Caesar being stabbed.
Well, the good news is back then they might have even been more free. At least they didn't have to like worry about getting reported online for hate speech and taken down by some disgusting overarching surveillance system of wrong speak in their nation.
Turned in by the pronouns, man.
I guess the downside of that is if you say the wrong thing in front of the wrong guy, you just like get crucified or whatever.
Right, instead of canceled, it's just like, how about a cross?
If you were lucky, they let them duel over slights.
It's not terrible.
A nice little fight to the death with the biggest guy in your town. Could be fun.
I imagine, though, that within a generation, like Caesar jokes were on brand. Like, give it 15 years after the fact. Nobody, like, you might get those old heads. It's like, you can't joke about Caesar being stabbed, but I bet it was genuinely accepted. It's like, that's kind of funny.
Okay, here's a real question. How long was it until you made your first 9/11 joke? And if you don't remember, give me like an idea of what you did.
I remember. I made a joke.
Of course you remember.
Before the second plane hit, I made a joke.
Jesus Christ.
I got in trouble in my classroom.
Did exactly that, dude. What did you say? What was the joke?
It was something along the line. It wasn't a good joke. It was just like, guess that pilot's getting fired. Something like that. Somebody fucked up the flight plan
before the second plane even hit.
Yeah, they'd wheel the TV in because the teacher was like, I don't know what's happening, but history's happening today, and I want y'all to pay attention. And that was my contribution to the class.
The very first thing out of your mouth.
Whose class were you in, Logan? Do you remember?
I think
it would have been the morning of what you were in 6th grade. So it would have been what were your morning 6th grade classes?
I'm pretty sure it was in I want to say Mrs. Wren's English class.
Oh, dude, I was hoping it was my mom's class.
No, I don't think I didn't have a hot teacher that period. So
that's fair. That's totally fair.
All right. So Logan has proved to us that he has always had zero chill. What about you, Matt? When was the first time that you feel like you felt comfortable making a 9/11 joke?
I probably would have been in high school at some time. I think that I don't know. I walked the straight and narrow during those days.
5 or 6 years later, 2006.
Yeah, probably somewhere in there. I was in high school before I made a 9/11 joke, and it was not received very well.
To be 100% fair, to douse my own fire as much as I enjoyed that reputation point I just gave myself, I did not know it was a terrorist attack yet either. I was just trying to make everybody laugh because I was a class clown in my own head. And I was just like, I don't know, guy wrecked into a building. Like, fuck, obviously he's a shit pilot. It was kind of my.
You probably would have been like, it's probably a woman pilot. Am I right? It's like, this is why we don't want hire Asian women to fly planes. Am I right?
What are you looking at, Stephanie? You're not Asian. Get off my back.
Am I right? Jeez.
No, I was like every other redneck boy right after. Once we realized it was terrorist, I was ready to go kill all those Muslims like everybody else.
And now look at us. 20 years later. Has it been 20 years? And we're sitting here like, oh, I don't want to bomb Iran. What's happened, man? You lost your fight.
What happened to us?
I guess that's what, I don't know. It's something that it's hard to describe to, like, I don't know, like old heads, right? Because my business partner is a Gen Xer, and we were talking the other night about like generations, and it was, I tried to explain that it's like I come from a generation like our like coming of age thing was zeitgeist, right? And a lot of times you're like, wait a minute, how did an entire engine block disintegrate? But they found like their paper passports, and then all of a sudden everything becomes suspicious, and it's like, oh, we've lived through what, 3 once in a lifetime financial crisis, and it's like we're very cynical as a generation. And so I just wonder, like, damn, I got distracted by that message. I tried to keep my train of thought so bad.
I almost want to like just say what he said.
Dude, it's like I was like, don't pay attention, keep your train of thought, and it's like, nah, it's gone. I actually can't remember what I was talking about.
Okay,
So
well,
let it
on.
be.
So you were talking to one of your business partners about generations and like how we came of age with like zeitgeist and loose change, like blowing open our perceptions about everything, and then we've always had like this skeptical lens through which we viewed things. Now, do you remember your point?
Yeah, yeah, essentially, like, he was like, why are you so cynical all the time? Like, that's how the conversation started. It's like, you're just like it's like you're just cynical. And because he'd say something like, oh, and I have like all of these alternative theories of what happened, and that was basically how it came about. Why I even thought to bring that up, like, that train of thought it's ruined. It's
No,
gone in it's gone
it's
in
an
the
interesting
ether. Dude,
idea.
burned away just like the engine block of that plane.
It collapsed into nothingness like Tower 7. But it is fair. It's an interesting idea because like our generation is very skeptical and cynical, but like not in the same way that Gen Z is. Like Gen Z, they're skeptical of things and like instantly will assume their priors with like only a little bit of information. They're very quick to come to conclusions in like a good way. Whereas like we have this weird skepticism of just kind of like nothing worked out the way we were told.
Right.
And after like a long enough time of like banging our head against the wall, we're finally like, oh, maybe this is not what it seems. And then, we're watching Gen Z like run circles around the same conclusion already. It's like, how'd you guys get here already? And they're like, we just read your blogs, dude. We saw the scattered corpses of millennials littered across the entire internet. We figured out what the fuck was going on, dude. And like, I think we just have this like survivor skepticism almost. And it's kind of weird too, because like we'll say things like once in a lifetime financial crash. He was talking about like 2008, and I guess 2001 we were kind of alive through that one, but like we weren't really doing anything with money. And I'd argue that even 2008 we weren't really doing anything with money at that point.
I was in high school.
I
was happy to have $100 in my wallet. So
exactly, the oldest millennials were like 22, 23, and just kind of getting out of college. They wouldn't have had money either, but they might have had like struggle with the job market, depending on if they lived in like Ohio or some other place that really got hit. But for the most part, like it wasn't that bad. And housing prices were depressed for like the next 6 years for a while. Interest rates were in the gutter. Like we actually had it like fairly decent, all things considered. Like I'd hate to be 24 years old right now. And, one, COVID ruined high school and college. 2, housing completely unaffordable, out of reach. 3, lower rung jobs almost gone. Like they're really getting like just fucked, cucked, licked, sucked, all the worst ways. And they just have like a different level of cynicism towards it instead. It's almost like black pill cynicism. Like a millennial will complain about how rough everything is for like the longest time. Where like a Gen Z is just kind of like quiet in the corner, playing Minecraft. Like they're not even talking about it anymore.
Accepted, like
They're
it's like ultimate,
silently
like,
writing their
doomerism.
manifestos.
Yeah. Yeah, Gen Z has a manifesto. Millennial might have like an Instagram page with like a couple sentences in the caption. We're posting a black square in solidarity because someone told me to.
because what I do matters. That's also something that's like on this, like it is pertinent to this conversation. Something that I've like, there's a couple of people that I know in real life that their Instagram stories are just filled with like, I'm not even gonna say it's like not like pro-Palestinian is the word for it, but it was like that whole whenever like Greta's like whatever fucking ship that she was on. Like there are several people I know in real life that their entire existence on the internet revolved around like eyes on this ship and make sure that they, and like what's going on is a travesty and that you can't do this. Is like, oh, so what, like Greta got pulled off. Like I actually laughed about this. Like once again, I'm not supporting it, but I can't knock the hustle that all of those people they yanked off those ships, they made them like watch this like 2-hour long Israeli propaganda video of like the horrors of Hamas and like this is who you're trying to support, and then they deported them. I fucking love like a Clockwork Orange where they're like stuck in this room with their eyes like like forced open, watching them and then
Amalekite lost his favor with the Lord, and the Lord saith unto thee,
and that's why they're proud.
His bloodline must be ended from the Israelites. What was it that Greta was protesting? Like a disproportionate amount of exhaled carbons from Jewish noses, or I forgot.
Oh, zing! I like that one. Nice,
like the cows thing.
Nice. I like that one. It's taking up their disproportionate of oxygen, them big old noses.
They're breathing in all the clean air, polluting the ozone. I heard somebody say Building 7, so I ran back as quickly as I could there.
Ran back from where?
Y'all know where. I heard that was the last thing I heard clearly when I was going to the bathroom, is y'all outing my super secret group chat there.
We didn't actually out
didn't
it.
out you. We didn't.
It was just I tried to finish my thought, but it was distracting and I lost it.
We were talking about the millennial malaise. We were I don't know what the word is. We're like earnestly skeptical in the worst ways. I think boomers just kind of like really made us believe a lot of things that just were not true. Whereas at least Zoomers got to go on the internet and see it wasn't true and just live their lives knowing it wasn't true. I think we struggled in the mines for quite some time.
Dude,
and some of us actually made out with some gold. I'll say that much.
Dude, your quote, we saw the scattered corpses of millennials strewn across the internet. That's like prophetic to me. That's like, I actually even wrote that down because I need to, I'm going to remember that one.
Oh yeah, it's a good one. I actually tweeted it a couple days ago, so it's fresh in my mind.
That's what's up.
That's why it came out so good and I didn't stutter.
Oh, dude, that's what, dude, I love it. I love it.
I'll be honest with everyone. If it's a new idea, my brain's like, but then what's the word again? I forgot. Grassroots.
It does suck to get betrayed by your articulation skills when you're like, God, that sounded so good in my head, and I just stuttered my way through it.
I don't know what happened. There was a point in my life, I remember it very clearly. I was about 25 years old, where I suddenly just could not think and speak at the same time. Before that, dude, oh my God.
You're on
dude,
I
was twisting words. Things were spinning off the tip of my tongue like nobody's business, dude.
Charlatan of the highest nature.
And then after that, I was like, fully forming a brain. Used to, the thoughts were not all that complex that had to be translated into words.
Yeah, no, my conscience just turned on, and suddenly it was like, you should stop lying to everybody.
Right. Obama bad.
Yeah, we're like our own little misinformation factory, aren't we?
Misinformation is the only thing that comes out of my mouth quickly. Everything else is so slow.
When I know I have to come across confident to sell a lie, it comes out really well.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I just need to believe the rest of my life is a lie, and I'm in it.
I wonder how much of that malaise of the millennial class has been from us just like having a humbling experience. Like we all got to live through cheering on war in Iran or in Iraq rather in like 2008ish, and like all of us were on board in 2003. It was all we got to fucking fight for our freedom, and they can't believe they struck us without provocation, and now we all got to eat some crow along the way. Any of us that's continued to pay attention, so that all of a sudden it's like, maybe I'll hold this opinion a little bit here. Maybe I'll think this one over.
It was tough. We did have Toby Keith and Willie Nelson.
I'm proud
dropping bangers. Like, it's really hard to go against the grain when you've got was something like whiskey for my men and beer for my horse. Yeah, it's like those were bangers, bro.
Damn, I need to listen to some more 9/11 core.
9/11.
I was just thinking that. I'm gonna look on Spotify right now. There's got to be a 9/11 themed playlist, right?
Dude, there has to be. And if it's not, the internet has failed us.
I don't remember how to even look for playlist. Let's see.
You type it in the search bar.
I'm finding all the wrong things. Trauma core playlist and mixes.
Trauma core.
That's definitely Gen Z.
Dude, spare me. Spare me your like, I don't know, your bullet for bullet for my Valentine. These tears don't fall. Yeah, spare me that bullshit. Trauma core.
Yeah, here's the one you got.
Valentine wasn't trauma core, I don't think. That was still like earnest suffering.
Yeah, that girl really broke his heart, all right?
Okay, interesting distinction between earnest suffering and trauma core, and I follow.
All right, so
bad example on my part.
I opened the trauma core playlist as an example. Here are the song titles, just to give you an idea of what this nonsense is. Song number 1, I'm Stuck. Song number 2, You Ruined My Childhood. Song number 3, Slowly Dying. There is a space between every single letter. Song number 4, This Is a Nightmare, space question mark.
Damn. There's an album from Sky Daddy.
Okay.
Called Trauma Core.
Okay.
Just came out in May. I have no idea, but I'm gonna listen to it tomorrow.
I'm gonna say I'm curious.
I will report back to report back on the album Trauma Core from Sky Daddy.
Sky Daddy.
I'm down for it. But I think this is like one of the biggest 9/11 Gen Z.
I found an official 9/11 playlist that's American Soldier by Toby Keith, Arlington by Trace Adkins.
Okay.
I had forgotten, ironically, Have You Forgotten by Daryl Worley.
Oh.
Have you forgotten when those towers came tumbling down?
The answer is yes.
The Jews were dancing in the streets.
Oh my god.
It might not be verbatim, I'm not sure. There is one on here by Martin Noakes, who I'm not familiar with, that's titled 9/11 Building 7. I want to listen to that one. That sounds interesting.
Oh,
100% listen to that.
Dude, some good old. That's what's up.
Oh, holy shit. It's on YouTube too. Oh, wow. This video looks ridiculous.
9/11 core.
9/11 core.
Dude, it's a great genre. It needs to exist.
Have you forgotten? There's some good ones in there. There were some that I think I very sternly listened to some of those songs in like 2003 out on the farm.
We'll put a boot in your ass because it's the American way.
Yep.
Hey, Uncle Sam, something there in the Statue of Liberty. I don't know, something with fist. That's about all I got.
Damn, I wish I knew these songs, man. I missed out on 9/11 core back then. I was still listening to DMX.
No, he did a couple 9/11 memorial songs.
Did he really?
No, I'm making that. I'm pretty sure he did not. I would think so.
Stop. Drop.
Towers come tumbling up.
7 down.
I may never hit that building. Steel beams don't melt, and there's no enough temperature.
Poor 9/11.
All the Jews called out to work that day. That's my favorite 9/11 conspiracy theory. Is just like, did you know that every Jewish person in the building called out of work that day? Like all the Jews called out. Is that what happened? That's
It's my
They
favorite
risked
recurring meme too. I just saw a meme this morning where it's a guy standing in an empty office. It's like when all the Jews call out of work, and he's like looking around terrified.
It's probably like the same sentiment as like when you're on a plane and you hear the guy behind you talking about his new hydrogen engine.
yeah. Not
It's
good.
like-
Get off that plane.
It's like insert Air India. Like who was on that plane? Oh,
All
you're
right,
just
so
gonna
anyways,
tell
when we land, we're going straight to the whistleblower trial, all right? We're all here, right, guys?
Do we have a head count? Yep, we're all here. All 175 of us. Like, oh my god, I need to get
It's all
on this.
174 of us and this one guy on the plane with us.
What could possibly go wrong? Dude, that makes you wonder. It's like who was on that Air India plane? Not
That
this.
does beg the question.
You know, it's like, and this is like I was trying to explain to my business partner about like the brain rot that millennials suffer from. Is that it's not good that we are so skeptical of everything that happens. It's like Air India crash. Oh, who was on the plane? Like, what did like who stood, like what industry stood to suffer from an individual on that plane? Was like the pharmaceutical industry about to get disrupted? Like, I don't know, like somebody was about to lose billions of dollars, and so let's go ahead and just kill 200 and something people, and we'll call it a day. And like that brain rot, it's not good. But it's unfortunately where my mind goes as soon as everything happens. I'm like, oh yeah, of course. Like, of course, the governments are dropping like Air India flights, and who knows? I have no idea what the cause of the crash is. I'm sure they'll figure it out at the end. Do we send the NTSB overseas? Or is that strictly an
No.
American?
India has their own.
Yeah, but we're supposed to trust that. It's probably a bunch of fucking scammers talking to
Probably.
themselves.
Probably.
Like we can't even trust them not to
Actually-
like shit in a river. We're supposed to like trust them to investigate an air crash, like, bro.
Yeah, it's a tall ask. It's a really tall ask.
I'm very skeptical of that report already, and it's
So
a
that's-
different type of skepticism, like the 9/11 Commission.
See, I like the direction you took it there. That's actually the second conspiracy related topic that I've seen around this Air India crash. The other one being that they had the picture of the plane after it had crashed. It lodged into the side of that building. Did y'all see that
Mhm.
picture?
I did see
Yeah.
that.
And it's like a cement or a stucco building kind of thing. And a lot of people were just kind of pointing out, like, man, it's a pretty big plane that ran into the side of that building that's not made of steel that didn't quite collapse in on itself.
That's so great. There's like 9/11 conspiracies from. It's like, oh, interesting. That I see that Indian cement still standing.
You do really have to love it, though. You know.
It's like I've seen their street food. You're telling me that they can make like concrete stronger than
Well, you don't
steel
understand
in New York
the
City.
the amount of fecal matter in the body or odor coming from the population causes all the pores from the cement to close themselves off so that the air can't get in.
That's very scientific.
You can't get in.
It's
That's
gotten
dude,
much
that's
stronger.
big brain energy. Hell yeah. Hell
It's an
yeah.
unporous concrete.
Dude, see, all of this time we've been knocking them because they clog airplane toilets and they make them like turn around. But dude, apparently it's like, dude, they've just like their lack of hygiene and then like their persistent belief that they have to just shit out in the open save that building. Who knows who could have died if they weren't so nasty? Like this.
That argument would hold more water, except that the plane actually did crash because it passed out after vomiting and wrecked into the building.
The
Smell like
pilots
all
just
of it.
couldn't like handle the stench coming from.
The plane's engines were actually clogged. They'd been using it as a toilet, so unfortunately.
It's like we actually found curry in the engine. We don't know how that got there.
I like that we've all evolved. 9/11, it took us a little while to make jokes. This, probably, if we had been there day of on scene, I think we might have been making jokes within about 2 hours.
We might could have avoided a whole war if we could have been around to make these jokes at the time. If I wouldn't have been in 6th grade getting in trouble in my class for making these jokes.
Oh, 100%, dude.
I wonder what type of world we're gonna live in. Because boomers they're all about to, they're on their way out. Gen X is wholly uninterested in a lot of ways of like holding on to the beliefs that they're, like boomers and Gen X, like they don't have the same thoughts about power, civic duty, all of those type of things. And so ultimately, a lot of these positions are about to be filled with millennials. I wonder how the country is going to look when you have a bunch of like, let's give it 10 years. And there's a bunch of 40 something, like early 50 to early 40-year-olds like occupying all of these roles. They're in government, they're in important CEO, maybe not CEO, but they're important positions in companies and corporations. I wonder how little chill the corporate world is going to have because I just imagine like 10 years, like sometimes I'm a little unhinged in the meetings I still am a part of, and I have to catch myself like, actually, like wrong audience. They don't appreciate the type of humor that you just brought to the situation. Because there's like, I'll just like without going into details. There's
HR
like,
Stacy looks upset right now for some reason.
there was like there's this lady who's like, anyway, she's petitioning to get something done, and the committee's like, it's like, we hear you, but my way of trying to be like diplomatic is like, hey, thank you for coming, thank you for speaking your piece, but this is government, so we have to have a meeting, and now we have to have a meeting about what you talked about, and then we'll have a meeting about what we talked about, what you talked about, and then we'll have another meeting to like finalize our official thoughts, and we'll get back to you in like 7 to 9 months. And I said that as a joke, and a couple of people laughed. But you could also tell the old heads did not appreciate how I viewed government. And it's like, oh, maybe it's, I'll try again next time.
These are sacred halls here. We took this picnic table and these plastic chairs and set them up in a nice U shape for this governmental meeting. How dare you? We got a podium with a wooden mallet and everything.
Pretty much. That's actually pretty much how it happened. Like the younger people thought it was funny, the old heads did not.
I was almost thinking with like the shifting demographic thing of like, so we had a lot of stories of Americans who went over to Ukraine to try to join the war effort, like jump in and get a gun. And most of the time they were met with like Ukrainian officers being like, dude, I'm not giving you a fucking gun. Who are you? You don't even speak our language. Like, what are you doing here? But with wars shifting so rapidly to drones, how long before we have kids that are just like shipping their drones overseas? They just saw the blueprint from Ukraine. You like put it in a shipping container and just like just fly it straight out and like you're part of the war effort now.
I saw on that note, I saw this meme. It was like the drone operator watching you like do calisthenics, cardio, and practice tactics, and he's just like looking at you very skeptically because it's like, that's all nice, but I'm just going to drop a drone when you're sleeping. Oh man, it has
become the fix all too. It's like you got some troops on the ground, send in a drone. You got a plane you need to take out. How about a drone? You got a tank you're worried about. You don't want to get too close to that big artillery. Maybe send a drone in. It's just all the way down to like my favorite bit of modern war technology is the drone with just a piece of ribbon hung from it so that it can catch another drone's propeller.
Oh,
that's clever.
They just fly their kite tail into another drone and let its propeller
One interesting thing about Ukraine that people have found is they use fiber optic drones just because you can't jam them if they have a line to them. And they've discovered that like a lot of the nesting birds in Ukraine are making their nests out of like discarded fiber optic cable because it's just everywhere. It's like
Forever
more common
Nest.
now than just dead grass.
Forever Nest.
Forever.
Forever Nest.
Yeah, they're essentially they just leave it like it's like not a wireless drone anymore, right? Because they're trying to avoid the ability to jam it, so you just have a permanent signal with that fiber optic strung out. That is a funny scene to just watch spaghetti balls being formed across the Ukrainian landscape and just left behind. I wonder how often they like run into the issue of like that we were doing good, but our cable got caught. We downed our own drone.
Right, where it's like we ran out of cable. It's like, whose job was that? It's just like it just runs out of cable. It's like disconnects and then it falls and explodes. I actually saw a video of these.
Yeah, I'm
Russian
a soldier.
soldiers.
What do? I wind fiber optic cables around weed.
I get $3,200 a month in disability for PTSD. Repetitive stress motion from winding the fiber optics.
Hey, a lot of people don't understand, but
Thank me
those
for my
birds are
service.
really aggressive.
They really have taken a liking to that fiber optic cable. You got to like shoo them away every morning.
Got a dedicated bird gun, in fact.
Dude, the horrors of like the untold like horrors that we just couldn't imagine. I have to. How do I say this? Because I don't know how much at the time of this conversation was or was not. Like should I have been privy to? I don't know. But I remember talking to somebody, let's say like 5 years ago, who was a brain. Like that was his job was to solve hard problems for the United States military. And one of the things that they were working on was these drones. And I remember he said this I'm trying to like keep this like vague but also get the point across about like imagine like a uniform drone attack where half of them are filled with explosives and half of them are filled with cameras, and the propaganda that comes out after you just like go bomb, like you send 100 drones into a crowd and take out a presidential candidate, and then you have all these cameras filming it. And they were like, how do we solve this thing that's going to be a problem way sooner than anybody realizes? And I was like, oh, that's very interesting. Forget all about it. And then I was like, fast forward to 2020. He's like, oh my God, like this dude was like he was working on problems that they knew were going to be problems. And I just brushed it off as like, oh, okay, like you're a brain, you think in a vault and you're not connected to reality. Like, what do you know with your top secret security clearance?
What is the point of the propaganda and recording it?
Why would you record
let's
it?
pretend you got the 100 drone swarm, 50 cameras, 50 bombs.
Oh, just because I don't know, like if your goal as a terrorist organization is to instill fear in the population, what better way than to capture, I don't know, a couple hundred people getting blown up by drones in 4K and like string a nice little edit out on the video with some banger music behind it, and it's like beware next time you go outside. Like that's what I would do with it.
You just make a little a TikTok video with
yeah, essentially, and you get all of like the nice angles, like you get a close up of the president blowing up. You can actually like see like his face get removed from the skull, and you put that, and then next like you go to a small child like crying and something falls on him, and just like fear. Like you capture the fear in 4K.
It's just like every drone video I've ever seen. When that first drone does the first person camera view of it doing a barrel roll 360 backflip and then shooting some Muslim guy in the head, you want to be able to zoom out to the third person view after that and catch the same footage because it's really cool to see both angles,
fair enough, man.
You don't like the war propaganda, bro? You don't like the war porn?
It just seems to work in reverse. Like whoever is getting killed ends up like being the good guy in all of the footage. And I don't mean like they're actually the good guy. It's just like it looks like,
for sure, that's fair.
This is a little gruesome,
Makes them sympathetic a little bit.
So like, I don't know, if you had recorded footage of you like successfully assassinating someone and getting some civilian collateral, it just feels like the footage would make it worse. Whereas like the news is great. The news is like,
no, that's fair.
Targeted.
This conversation though was probably 6 or 7 years ago, and I imagine that because we didn't have like think of like there's a lot of footage from Iraq, Afghanistan, and stuff, but the horrors of war are accessible on our fingertips. You know, it's like I had to unsubscribe from a couple of subreddits because I remember like one morning I woke up, it's like, oh, I'm just gonna, you know, it's like
Oh no, the subreddits are too metal for me. What a fucking millennial!
For sure, it is very
I
millennial.
subscribe to some pretty intense subreddits, man. You want to know what I browse?
No, it's not even like that. I don't know if they were particularly that intense, but it was just one of those. I remember like waking up, I'm taking a poop as I'm scrolling. I watched like this guy die in a very horrific way. I think it was Ukrainian war footage, and it was just like it's like it's 5:45, and I didn't need to see that first thing in the morning. You know, it's like that's not good for my psyche. Those horrors should not. Like I should have to like go and be like either a wartime correspondent. Like I shouldn't just be able to access that while I take a poop in the morning. And that's my goal. Or that's the point that I'm trying to make is that maybe 7 years ago that wasn't a thing. Like we didn't have that much footage. And so now like to your point,
millennials for this too, dude. This is 100% our fault. We have always chased this like vulgar wave. We wanted cursing on TV. We wanted full nudity in our TV shows. We wanted to see dick, balls, ass, and titties everywhere. We wanted random sex scenes for no reasons. We wanted access to more gratuitous violence. We wanted to see stuff. We wanted everything uncensored. And now we got it. It's 100% our fault. It's like, I think it's one of the things millennials will be most known for is just this pursuit of vulgarity in a world that didn't have as much of it, anywhere near as much of it. So now it's like, it's everywhere.
That is interesting. I've watched a couple TV shows and or movies I hadn't watched since like 2009, 2010-ish kind of thing. And man, you are right about like every episode of this series has 5 sex scenes in it, huh? Like it's just and when I was a 19-year-old man, it was like, this is the best show ever. But now that I'm 35 and a little more settled down, I'm like, is there really going to be another sex scene? Like, do I have to slog through yet another sex scene in the show?
Pretty excessive,
right? And then you listen to like the director's commentary, like, well, we wanted to show him sucking a dick to show people how he was subversive and he didn't follow the rules. This was the best way we thought we could do that. And it's like, no,
but no, he's just sucking a dick. Like it's not artistic. It's not art. It's not artistic. You're just sucking a dick.
Yeah, we ruin media, dude, and it's why there's so much gore just randomly online. And you'll talk to some millennials who like still don't get it. And you know, there'll be like a video of like a random shooting, like the dude in Colombia who just got shot, one of the presidential candidates. You can see him; he gets shot in the head, like in the back of the head, and like his hair like gets shot, and he's still alive, but I don't think it's gonna go well. But like, you get in arguments about like, we don't really need to see this. You can just tell us he got shot. That's fine. And someone's like, you need to know that the world is like this. If you don't see this, you have no idea what's out. It's like,
oh, I don't know though.
Do I need to enact that flight or fight sequence in my head at 6 a.m. because I accidentally saw a beheading video while I was pooping? I don't know if I really needed that.
Yeah, I didn't want that. I didn't want to see the double bomb drop on the unarmed civilian either. That was, come on now.
It can change your day, especially when you see them unexpectedly. Like when you're not on the Twitter page looking for it, you're just like scrolling through some memes and you catch that one of. That was how I saw the girl get decapitated by the bus, and I was like, "Oh well, I guess I'm just gonna think about that all day long then."
Bruh, for real,
it's
man.
Not cool. It's not cool, and it's like there's something to be said about like having the guardrails on society and media to make sure that that's not accessible all the time, because like normal people, like I don't know, I guess like because some of the people I talk to this stuff about, they're all ex-military, and they did their stuff, and what blows them away the most about the modern era is like I had to like sign up to the military and I had to go to foreign countries to see and experience these like the horrors of war that you can just like look at in the morning while you poop. It's like I had to get deployed.
I made a conscious effort to go through all of this training in order to get myself to a position to be physically ready to see 2 girls, 1 cup.
Indeed, they're
Yeah,
they're
bro.
they're strong amongst us, and then
You
the
have to
rest of
start
us
with
are
through
weak.
Goatsy, through Bottle Guy, through Tub Girl. I mean, you were a real fighter now. And now it's just like you get online and there's 3 girls, 8 cups. It's nonstop.
And we're desensitized to it. It doesn't have the same reaction.
Absolutely. I think that's the worst part about it. We're so desensitized to the world, like as a generation, just because we forced this vulgarity on ourselves. Like
Mm.
nothing really holds any meaning anymore. It's all just kind of
Yeah,
gratuitous entertainment. Like even the real world, the real war, gratuitous entertainment.
that's
Like
true.
I'd say even the way that people engage with like the political consequences of what's going on, it's mainly through just like jokes and levity and humor, or like, oh, let me get on Polymarket and bet on the chances of Iran actually already having a nuke. It's like, why would you even bet on that? What's the point? Like if you win the money's no good, and if you lose, cool, you lost the money. Like there's no sense to it. But the odds are
I told you, and I locked it in at 3-1 odds, and then there's just white flash.
and you become just a shadow.
Absolutely, but you can cash in. Right now, the odds are like 5.5 to 1, actually. So it's it's paying out.
Dude, we're so it's like this is like the mark of a fallen society. We are living in it because in all seriousness, like let's go back to the Air India thing. I remember like hearing about it. I was like, damn, that's horrible. But it didn't take more than like 10 minutes for me to make a joke about it. Like 200 something people dead. And just couldn't even be bothered to like feel sad or have some sort of like reverence for souls lost for more like not even a half hour. Couldn't even be bothered. And I say that like very unproud, because it's a negative mark on our society.
Can I
'Cause
ask you both a
actually-
question, and then we'll come back to this because I
Sure.
think I'm just very curious. Do you remember the last time you saw some sort of like large mass casualty event and you actually felt sad about it?
Ooh.
Like saw online or in person?
Not in person, just kind of
Oh,
like,
like
the
through
detached
news,
like
oh.
TV, online, whatever.
That's an interesting question. Wow. I'm trying to think.
I only have one in my life that's ever happened, and it's the most retarded story ever. But I can tell it while y'all think. But it was kind of weird. So, do you remember when Haiti got hit by an earthquake? It was like 2009, I think.
We don't remember that, bro.
Maybe
They're brown.
2010.
I didn't even know
normally-
about
I
Area India
normally
until
wouldn't
you guys
remember
brought it up.
Consequences
But,
of throwing off their colonial rulers, like God gave them that earthquake.
Fair enough, but this was one of those times where I really felt the vulgar wave. It was on CNN, and that weekend I had like done shrooms with some girl, and she decided she wanted to do hers, so I had like an extra eighth of shrooms, and I was like, you know what, I got to get rid of these somehow. And I was like chilling at my mom's house. I'm pretty sure it was between semesters. I don't remember what's going on. And I was like, let me just do the shrooms. I'll hang out upstairs. I'll watch The Hurt Locker on HBO. It'll be chill. And while I was watching it, my mom's like downstairs, and like CNN is like massive 7.6 magnitude earthquake has just struck Haiti. And my mom's like, come on, you got to come downstairs. You got to come look at this. And I was like, I'm peaking on shrooms. Awful time to go down. But I can't tell my mom I'm not in the mental state to handle it. So I can walk down, and like literally CNN is just flying a chopper over Haiti and like filming the streets. And it's just like dead bodies all along the streets, just lining the road. They're up on like the sidewalks or what remains of the sidewalk, just everywhere. CNN
Anyway,
did not
now
give
here's
a
what the neighborhood
fuck.
looked like after the earthquake.
Oh my god, dude.
But it's also the only time I've ever like seen something and just been like genuinely like, wow, this is awful. I don't want to look at this. This is horrible. It's incredibly sad. And it's probably because of the shrooms, but
I
still.
was about to say you cheated though. You were using performance enhancing drugs to enhance
But-
your emotional resonance.
It is very odd though, because we see these events all the time. You'd think there'd be more than just one that's ever had an impact on me. And I don't know if y'all even have one at all.
I'm trying to think back. I was trying to think if I even had, because I mean, I didn't really understand what was going on when I saw the 9/11 attacks. So my first inclination was to make a joke, like I said earlier.
Yeah, I didn't really get it either. I was the same
Same.
age as you. I am the same age as you, not was.
let's man. There was man. This is going to sound bad as I think this. There was somebody that drove through a celebration in Liverpool because they won the Premier League. I'm a big Liverpool fan, and so I was like, yeah, and that's like, I don't know why that one struck differently because it's because I was stoked. Like I wake up early and I watch Liverpool games, and I'm a big fan. And the idea of somebody like out there celebrating on the street on something that's I know that it is soccer. It's very meaning, it's very like I don't know, it's bread and circus, but you got to have bread and circus. You can't just live in the world of seriousness all the time. And it really bummed me out that like people are out there just celebrating that their football club is good, and somebody drives through the crowd with a car. That was the last one, and that didn't happen that long ago. That was a couple weeks ago.
Oh,
but
is this the one that happens to you kind of like semi-regularly, or is this the only one that you remember?
I mean, this one just happened not that long ago. That's why it comes to my mind.
Maybe
I got pretty.
Has an
I guess I got
It has what?
Maybe you have an emotional capacity that we lack.
I think he just called you gay.
Well, hold up, guys. Like, dude, Logan has been calling me gay for years. Those jokes shouldn't be that funny anymore. Like, they shouldn't hit.
It's about the timing more than the concept.
Yeah,
fair enough.
It's like Kanye's Heil Hitler song.
Fair enough. I'm trying to like
we're all down with
that one.
This is like one of the years when like gay and faggot jokes are coming back, dude. So they're fire right now. I laugh extra hard because I have 5 years of laughter that I just didn't use.
Oh, fair enough. Who am I to try to rob you of your joy? Shame on me.
I don't know what's wrong with you, man. You gotta get it together. All right, Logan, do you remember ever having feelings about any sort of like mass sadness?
I did get pretty bummed out when Philly was doing their Super Bowl celebration, but that was just because the Eagles won a Super Bowl, and that makes me sad.
Honestly, they did not deserve that at all.
Not at all. Not the people of Philly. That's a hell of an organization. They got a great GM. A lot of football players. There's some real professional athletes on that team. That city does not deserve.
I disagree. They did not even deserve to win the conference championships. That really should have been the Vikings in the Super Bowl, not them.
Oh, spare me your propaganda, bro.
It wasn't even like a good game. They didn't let us score or anything, dude. It was awful.
Dude, spare me your propaganda. It's like, not Philly's fault that you guys rested your entire franchise on like the whims of Sam Darnold. You're like, that's not Philly's fault. That's y'all's fault.
Look, dude, bread and circuses, all right. And that year it was what was his name? The St. Louis Rams quarterback who Sam Bradford. Sam Bradford. Yeah, no, that year he gave us 5 great games, and then like all the tendons in his legs just erupted at once, and he never played again.
That's laughing, but that's the story of the Sam Bradford career. Unfortunately, it's like,
bro, it was. So
hey,
sad.
You know what? It's all coming together. Followed by like his leg getting destroyed, and
dude, I remember the beginning of that
getting traded to another team.
I was going so hard for Sam Bradford. I'm like, dude, he's a sleeper. He's just been ruined by injuries, but like 100%, he's a dog out there just tossing balls. We won 5 games straight. He was putting up 300-yard games, just dot. And I was sitting there like, I told you guys.
This is the New Orleans Saints season from last year where they came out and they won 2 games, including one where they blew out the Cowboys. And the message that everybody put in was like, this team has scored.
The Saints are here.
It was something like 60 points through 2 weeks. Like, holy shit, they've completely revolutionized. And then by the end of the season, like, now we're talking about them maybe being the worst team in the league 3 years in a row before they ever get good again because they took another bad quarterback. That's maybe the worst fate in fandom, is to come out that hot and then actually be one of the worst teams in the league.
Yeah, that's as bad as it gets. I would never wish any of my enemies to be a New Orleans Saints fan. And some of them are. I just feel bad for them. It's so sad.
Yeah, there's a New Orleans Saints fan I talk to often enough about football. And over the last like 2 years of us knowing each other, he's gone from like all the same complaints I have about like, this is a bad decision, I don't like this about my ownership group, and now he's like, I don't even know what our thought process is anymore. I'm not even sure what, like,
do we even
it would be frustrating. It would be infuriating if I thought they had the wrong plan. I don't even know if they have a bad plan put together. Like they're just kind of out there doing
They
stuff.
don't even have a bad plan.
I would take a malformed attack plan at this point.
Dude, they're just out there being the Browns, dude. It's like, sure, we'll give you $250 million guaranteed. But also, let's have 4 quarterbacks on our roster while paying a 5th quarterback that we've already let go.
Not one of them can throw a football either.
Well,
I guess Flacco could 10 years ago.
yeah, Flacco is elite. I think we all had to agree that was true.
Elite.
He's still elite. Still got it. Is he retired?
He's got a little bit of that. He's got
Wow.
a little bit of that Fitzpatrick into the career thing where they all turn into Jameis Winston. They get out there and it's like, I don't have a long-term job anyway, so let's see if I can throw 6 touchdown passes today. And every other week at 6 picks instead of 6 touchdown passes. But
just
He wins
playing
some
for the love
games,
of the game.
just try to fit it in that window today and see what happens. Maybe you have an on day.
100%.
Maybe I'm hot today.
Playground football, man. That's what it's all about. When you get deep enough into your career, you get to play it again. And that's the beauty of the sport.
Ooh,
But-
that's profound.
But here's the interesting thing. I asked about times when you've been very sad about something
And now we're talking
happening.
about football.
Yeah, we're talking about
We got
sports.
football.
We are like the epitome of millennials, dude. Like millennials want to see and touch everything in the world because we finally got access to the internet and we turned it all into cheap. We took wine and turned it into water, man. So you ask why you watch this crash in India of this plane and you feel nothing about it, and it's I don't know. I think it's a millennial trait to see and not feel anything. I think we're just kind of numb to it all. I watched it too. I make jokes about the poop nonsense. The poop buildings had me dying listening to that stuff.
That was pretty good.
I watched a bunch of different like angles of it. My only thought is like, oh, what if it's pilot error? That's it. Or is it Boeing? And right now it looks like it's Boeing. Both the engines failed apparently. But like that's all we have to like even like I don't know interject into the conversation. I have zero input about the 270 whatever souls on the plane. No thought whatsoever. I haven't even wondered if any of them are not Indian. I'm sure there's a chunk of them weren't. Flight was going to London. But I don't know. Just totally numb to the world, dude. And I think every other generation is going to hate us for this.
You said the flight was going to London, so you're worried some of them might have been Pakistani?
Worried is the wrong word.
Oh, that's not the word I would use. That's a word you could use. That's a word.
You do make an interesting point though. That like,
Fascinating point.
yeah, we are completely removed from our empathetic bone. It seems like. I never thought about it in that context, but you're right. When I try to think of like when's the last time I saw a news story that bummed me out, I'm not even sure I can think of one.
No idea.
I had to go to sarcasm and start talking about football to get out of that uncomfortable situation. But yeah, I don't know. I can't even really think of I almost said because I thought the Boston bombing popped in my head, and I'm like, I don't think I was sad though.
I
was
wasn't
just like, oh, here we go again.
I wasn't sad.
Look at that.
It makes you wonder, and I mean, there's so many of these, they're all dead for the most part, but I wonder if there were other generations. Like, I imagine, what would it be like to be like a 30-something-year-old in 1939? And you read the newspaper, like how much of that was internalized? Like, did you read the newspaper and like, oh my God, like Czechoslovakia, war in Poland, all of this stuff. And did it bum you out, or did they have maybe not the same reaction, but I don't know. I just wonder about the empathy levels. Like, did international news of human suffering register on a different way? Like, is that unique to us, or is it only being categorized and portrayed into like the public realm in ways that it wasn't, right? Like maybe all of those guys that read the newspaper went home and made jokes about Poland, like Polacks can't fight or something, who knows? But I am really curious, like, did they care, or have we always been cold and just like cold, heartless bastards that have no empathy for the suffering of our fellow man. But now it's just on full display.
I can't say for certain, but the one thing I can say is just from observing like my older relatives, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, they have a much stronger capacity for displaying empathy for people who are just very far away from them. And
Hmm.
I think it's a generational thing because all of my cousins just zero fucks, do not care. They don't give a shit. It's just whatever. And I empathize more with that than with the, the sadness of the calamity. And I don't know why.
Damn. Did we just take the Stalin pill? Unaware. It's like one death is a tragedy, a million is a statistic.
Yeah, probably. Like generationally, I think we all forced the Stalin pill down our throats. And like, I guess maybe
Very
that's where
unbased.
it comes from because we did it with porn to ourselves. We just ass blasted ourselves with porn and with like the shock porn. Two Girls in Cup,
Sure.
Goat and all the other stuff we mentioned. And what was it? Lemon Party. Like more and more of them are coming to mind. Like the more I think about it, or blueberry waffle. What was that one called? Blueberry pancake.
Dude. I repressed that. I don't remember the lemon party, but the blueberry that one I had that buried so deep in my psyche. Fuck you for bringing that up. I'd successfully repressed that until you said something about
I want to be mad at myself too, but like the image is washing over me and I just don't care. Lemon Party was 3 old men sucking each other off, by the way.
Gross.
I was forced to look at that in 7th grade, man.
Yeah.
But we were ass blasting ourselves, dude. And what was like Newgrounds and all those random websites you'd go to and you could find like the gore videos and execution videos. Like it just, we did this to ourselves. We're going to be the most hateable generation for it. And I don't know if this is true, but I hear trends that apparently Gen Z doesn't like watching sex scenes in movies, TV shows. They feel it's gratuitous. I have no idea if it's true or not, or if it's just the kind of statistics that like a random website would make up just to make you believe in the superiority of your generation. But it seems plausible. Anything seems plausible at this point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, on that point though, as I get older, it's like, come on. Like, do we actually have to watch this? And I've been going through and watching The Wire on HBO.
Yeah, we already have porn. If you're not showing me like an elf getting it on, I don't want to see it.
Exactly. Like low key, honestly, that's my opinion too.
And I get the HBO was edgy at the time, but there are scenes in that show. It's like, why? Like what
in The Wire?
Yeah.
Which ones caught you, man? Do you remember?
I guess from the episode I watched today, it's like he's like the white cop McNulty. He's drunk. He crashes his car. He goes to a diner, and this like the waitress just like eyes him, and she's like, "You can have whatever you want." And then like cut to them fucking, and it's like you could have implied that, but like, what does this have to like? That was just an opportunity to show titties on a screen. Like that's all it was. It doesn't progress the plot any further. I'm okay. And so here's the thing though. It's like I'm okay when he has sex with the prostitutes because they're hitting the sting. Right. You know, like that progresses the plot.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
You know, so like he's got to get
look,
thing by the prostitutes because that's part of the plot. But
you say it's gratuitous for us to show her tits, but if we don't, she's gonna wonder why we made her do it in the audition. So
fair enough. Totally fair. All right, Harvey.
Yeah, holy shit. Were millennials just an excuse for Weinstein to see more tits?
Dude, we're unraveling some deep stuff on this one.
Really good. Yeah, Me Too was 100% our fault as a generation.
And the movies, honestly, not saying that this means that Me Too shouldn't have happened. Quality's gone down.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that, dude.
Was Harvey Weinstein? Was he like the gatekeeper that
Herbert's make good movies?
Was he like? He was like Atlas shrugged, like he was Atlas holding up the world, and eventually, like he just like shrugged, and everything fell apart when they took him down.
One of my
all I'm saying is actresses were hotter when they had part of that barrier of entry was being hot enough to suck Harvey Weinstein's dick.
100%. And he was just doing it for the love of titties. He wasn't even doing it for money, dude. One of my favorite studios, I guarantee you they made no money. All they did was they found random films from like Malaysia and Thailand in like the mid 2000s. and they imported them into the DVD market here. So I could just go to a random store and find like the dumbest kung fu flicks on the shelf at Best Buy, all imported by a Weinstein company. I had like 10 million of these for a little while, dude, and I was so happy he was doing it, but guarantee you he made no money doing it, man. Now he's gone. No one's doing that anymore. You get on like streaming websites and people are too lazy. They haven't even uploaded like what's the movie where the guy's defending his elephants? The Thai Punisher, whatever it's called. You can't even get the third version of that yet on like streaming websites. People are too lazy to upload it. Harvey Weinstein flew over to Malaysia and actually like bought a bunch of copies and brought them here. I'm just saying. That's all.
Well, that pervert was on his way to Malaysia anyway, so it's just
holy shit!
It's got a connecting flight to Thailand, so you know.
Well,
I know you're joking, but it makes a lot of sense.
it makes so much
Look
sense.
at all the countries he targeted.
Dude, not all heroes
We
were
gotta do
capes,
something
baby.
during the daytime while I'm over here.
Some of them just take flights to Thailand.
Holy shit. He didn't import any Hong Kong flicks either. It was just Thailand, Malaysia, and Indonesia. And the Philippines. Oh, oh holy shit.
Wow,
Stumbled onto a
I'm
good theory
so
there.
uncomfortable about that revelation.
For anyone wondering, the name of this video was Dragon Dynasty, and I will never forget them.
Dragging these balls across your face.
Damn. Now I'm so conflicted too. It's like, was this piece of shit like a bastion that was like, was this guy like somehow holding society up in all of his horrible ways? Like, was the world a better place when that man is free?
I see him too now. He's 100% Atlas, dude.
Huh. Wow.
Oh, holy shit. Dragon Dynasty only released 63 DVDs in the US. I guarantee you they didn't make any money doing this. And some idiot on Reddit went and bought all 63 DVDs just to put them on a shelf and take a picture.
Good for him.
That idiot was me.
Autis needs hobbies too.
It's that shelf behind him right now, actually.
Right, he just outed himself. It's like some guy would like, who would do that? Like he
Yeah, that
sounds
is
like he has no life. What a loser.
I was about to say that just sounds like the hobby of a lonely man.
And actually, I'm looking at this shelf and it's missing titles. So I don't think 63 is actually how many movies were imported.
Yeah, you
must
would
have been
know
more.
that.
I'm not even joking. I would, dude. If I really think about this, I think I had maybe 17 of these movies. It was, oh, dude, high school was a different time. I used to like invite my friends over to like, come guys, you guys got to watch what I found. The goofiest movies. One of them, I love it. I wish I could remember the name. Born to Fight. All right, it's this Thai movie, and like this Thai Olympic team is going to like a village for like charity. But there's this cop, and his partner just died, and he's like out there to go mourn his partner. And a terrorist is like, I need to take over a village so I can launch my nuke, and this is the only place I can do it. And so he like takes the village captive with all the like Thai Olympic gold medalists and this one cop. And they're all sitting there like, oh no, we're gonna get murdered by the terrorist. He's gonna launch the nuke and win. And then like the Thai anthem gets played on the radio, and they all get up and they fight with their abilities. So like the soccer player is like kicking soccer balls and knocking guards off guard posts. The gymnast has a perfect routine of like double bars and rings, and they're going around kicking everybody. There's a dude who plays Sepak Takraw, which is this Thai sport where they kick a ball, but you have to do backflips to do it. He's just doing backflips, kicking everybody. Like the whole team is just wilded out. It's the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life, dude. It was fantastic. And apparently this is like a very serious movie in Thailand as well.
It's as you were saying that, I just imagine like the modern American remake is like Simone Biles like flipping and being like trans women are women, you know. and she like flips off the bar and like kicks the security guard in the face, like, you bigot.
This makes me think of one category. There's some great Bollywood movies out there. There was one on Netflix for a while. I don't know if it's still on there, but it was RRR. I don't know why it was three R's. Quite good, very hilarious. The action scenes, it's an action movie, but when it was imported into America, it became a comedy movie. At least for me, I laughed my absolute ass
100%.
off. There's another one it makes me think of in the realm of ridiculous movies that this one I haven't actually watched. It just came across my radar. Never Too Young to Die, starring John Stamos.
Ooh.
In which the main antagonist is, and we didn't have a word for this when this movie came out, so it's just like the concept. It was a trans woman, and the big line at the end is the trans woman says, "I'm better than you. Can't you see? I'm man and woman." And Stamos goes, "Well, can't you see, baby? You're only half man. I'm the whole thing." That's the big, ass kicking line.
Holy shit, Logan! Sorry, what movie was that?
I believe it's called Never Too Young to Die. If I
Bro.
pulled the right one up here.
Are we back?
1986.
I think we're
John
back.
Stamos. All right,
Wasn't he the guy from Full House?
Yes.
Pretty sure.
Let's see. Can I find the fight scene real quick? That's 7 minutes. We're not watching that. Here we are. 1 minute.
There's no way.
Okay, hold on. I got you. We should wrap up after this, but
Thanks for listening to Against the Mob podcast. We're a very serious podcast. Talks about very serious things.
Look, who knew that Harvey Weinstein was holding up my entire
Dude,
childhood?
he is
Good
Atlas.
God. Good God.
okay.
Which one's the trans?
Oh, you can't tell, you dig it?
Okay, here we go. Here we go.
Lads, can't you see the greatness in me? I'm female and male, man and woman. I'm better than you are!
Yeah, but don't you understand something? You're only half of each. I'm a whole man. So if you'll excuse me, I don't have a lot of time here. I gotta save the world.
I'm pretty sure the action scene doesn't get any better than that. So it's I believe the premise of this too, I looked it up, is that John Stamos is recruited by the American military intelligence, something or other, to go on this mission because they need somebody who has all of his unique skills as a gold medalist gymnast.
Bro, does he not yeet that dude over the dam?
I don't remember. No, he jumps up on the side of the dam, and then when they takes a swing at him, he does a perfect front flip and sticks the landing, and then runs off to the other side before the fight continues.
Of course you can't. It's not, dude, see, that's the thing, is like wokeness was permeating our media before we even knew it, because in a just world, they would have been yeeted over the dam and eradicated.
No, they must be allowed to reproduce, man.
Yes. That's...
Oh God, I should have just shared it. I totally forgot. There's the point where she pins him down. Okay, here, hold on.
Hold up.
Lads, please! So fast, little boy.
And here it is. He gets pinned down on the ground. Ineffectively kicks her in her not dead
What the fuck
It's great. He
was that?
gets out of it by pulling out her tranny boobs, and she gets embarrassed. Of all the terrible remakes that we're making right now, we can't go back and respect one of the great pieces of American filmmaking history like this.
I really wish they would, man. I wish they would.
That what a great fantastic. That's a deep cut. Thank you for that.
I don't even know how that came across my radar.
That
originally,
is
but
gold.
I've been waiting to bring that up in some kind of capacity for like 6 months.
I'm about to say, how long you've been carrying?
I appreciate
that
you guys prompting me for that one finally.
That's so good. Thank you very much for listening to Against the Mob podcast. We're a very serious show. talks about very serious things, as you can tell. We are very empathetic. We care about the plight of all humanity, especially those of the Browns and the Indians and the trans, because we're down. We're here. We see you. We feel your suffering. Probably be back next week. We'll see. But thank you very much. If you did take the time to listen, that's great. If you didn't, that's okay too, because I had a great time. So thank you, gentlemen. And we'll see you when we see you.
Have a nice night, y'all.